All right. Welcome in. Oh, no camera. We should get a camera. There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios here in the beautiful E Gallery in Dallas's Design District. I am Radio Misfit Dallas Pugs Moran. We are, of course, under the umbrella of our parent corporation, RadioMisfits.com. Excuse me, still battling the allergies. I've been telling you that for the last couple of days. I don't think it's getting any better. I don't think it's getting any better, and then it'll just be gone. I'll wake up one day and it'll be fine. So that's the life that we allergetics must suffer with. Let me tell you about what this show is. We've been doing it every day now for 3 years. Excuse me, 3 years every day. I get here, I sit down, I wake up early, I put together a full slate of news items, current events, hot topics, all that sort of stuff, and then I just spew them for you in what I like to call a stream of consciousness rant. Now, a stream of consciousness is just somebody speaking untethered to any single thing, and we just see where it goes. It's no interruptions, no breaks, just whatever the next thought is in your head, you just say it. Now, because that would be incredibly messy as a daily live stream, what I've done is I've created guardrails. These guardrails, we call them 4 quarters. 4 quarters this show plays out in. And they help me to stay on track as far as current events and all that stuff goes. So the first quarter we like to call antecedently on this day. It's this day in history. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Think of it as previously on September the 18th. Birthdays is quarter 2. People who were born on this day. Are they cool or do they suck? It's really not much more than that. Quarter 3, we talk about people who died on this day, the ones who left us, and we overturn every rock we can find from their life's resume, and we decide whether or not they ascended to heaven or were banished to hell. Heaven or hell is what we do in quarter 3. That leads us to quarter 4, which is the main course, if you will. It takes the bulk of the show. Quarter 4 is all the hot topics, current events, trends, and all the stuff that is happening today. You're going to get them through me, performed in, as I say, a stream of consciousness rant. Now, what do you need to know about that rant before we start? Here's what you need to know. This is talk radio the way talk radio should sound. This is talk radio the way you don't find anywhere else. You know why? Because I'm not bought and paid for by any one political organization or any one block of advertisers. Let me tell you a story. I'm not going to say any names. You may not even know this name. I'll tell you a story about a friend of mine who was a DJ, a morning show guy. He was hey man, it's Whip 'em Out Wednesday or whatever, all that kind of stuff. And then, the radio business changed as it will. Now, suddenly, he's very successful. We're going to say that. He's very successful doing AM political talk. He's not political. He's not political at all. He became political. He decided that, I guess I got to do this now. And he's doing an act. And it was the only job that was available to him. And it came loaded with sponsors. And all of these sponsors that were going to pay him the salary that he wanted had committed to a year. Why? Because of the messaging. Bought and paid for what was expected to be heard out of this person's mouth. It didn't matter that he was new, and it didn't matter that I personally think if he was allowed to do real talk radio, he could be one of the best in the business. But instead, he's stuck carrying water for the corporate elitists who want you to think a certain way and keep you ginned up and keep all of us divided. That is not what we do here on this show. This is talk radio for normal people. People who are not, the first thing about them that they need you to know is who they voted for. This show is not for those people. If you are those people, go away. It's for normal people who like life, normal people who love this country, normal people who are smart enough to recognize that you can love something and still think that it needs to be fixed. Okay? We can all agree on that. That's what this show is for. So join us as we begin year 3. I don't even know when the first day was. Let's say hi to the chat room. We've got Jimmy. Jimmy Smells is in the chat room. Jeff B, live from the cornfields of Iowa. Got him. We got Craig. We got the sports bras. We got Adam. Adam saying hola, as is his wont, as he is a Latino. Is he? I don't know. I don't know. I don't really. I got a Cuban friend who doesn't like to be called Latino. So I don't know. I believe Adam's Mexican. I think he's a proud Mexican American. I don't know if are the Mexicans okay with being called Latinos? I don't know anymore. The rules change. Look, when I was a little kid, if you were from Cuba, you were all Mexicans. That's when I was a little, you were all Mexicans. I'm not Mexican, I'm Puerto Rican. It's same thing. Same thing to a dumb white kid in 1980. I don't know. Now we got to be hyper specific. And it stands to reason. I mean, we're pretty hyper specific about our European heritages, right? Like somebody who's German, if you call them English, you'll be like, I'm not English. But to somebody of a different worldview, somebody like, I don't know, who was raised in a Caribbean island, they might not be able to tell the difference between a German and an Englishman, but they'll let you know because we all have our tribal prides. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the only problem that comes with having tribal pride, as I think some of us do, most of us do, we all do to some degree. Like me, my tribal pride would be Irish American, right? So that maybe we're talking about Adam, and I think he is Mexican. He's Mexican. Adam is tribal in many ways towards Mexican Americanism because that's his familiarity. That's how he was raised. That's what he's familiar with. That's what he knows. Some people, like here in Texas, I noticed there isn't a whole lot of ethnic tribal among white people. Like white people in Texas aren't proud to be, I'm a German Texan. That's not the way it is in other states. Like where I'm from, everybody's proud to be whatever the fuck they are, right? It's like, yeah, I'm Austrian. Woo, we got our own neighborhood and our own bakery, that kind of shit. But here, it's about being a Texan. Texan comes first. Most white people here, because I always ask, what are you? And what I want to hear is, well, my mother is Russian because I'm interested in that stuff. That shit is fascinating. Most of the time you ask a Texan, what are you? They'll say, Texan? Yeah, okay. And I'm also an Illinoisan and a Chicagoan and a Cook Countyer and but really, what are you? Like, why do your eyes look that way? There you go. That's a question. I love this kind of talk. I love talking about people's ethnicity. I love different ethnicities. I love different cultures. But apparently, if you openly talk about it and you have questions about cultures you're unfamiliar with, you're not allowed to have questions because if you have questions, you're racist. I'm not. I want to break that down. I don't love all people. I hate the Swedes. Fuck the Swedes. Let's be racist against the Swedes. For no reason whatsoever. There's no reason to be racist against the Swedes, but I'm choosing them. Pick a side. Wait, are they the ones? No, Switzerland. See, I always do this. I always confuse Switzerland and Sweden. Switzerland is the one that pick a side. Switzerland's the neutral country. Sweden, I think they've picked sides. And I think that side might be ours. So maybe I shouldn't be angry at them. I don't know. Learning a lot about Cuba. I am. I don't have much to watch. I've been rewatching Soap. Great show. News on that coming. But I also discovered something the other night on, I don't know what it's on, dude. What is it on? What is it? Who knows? There's so many platforms. I mean, it was limited when we only had 3 or 4 channels, but at least we knew what everything was on. I have no idea. I'm watching something called Mafia Spies. Might be on Apple, might be on Paramount Plus, might be on Netflix, might be on Amazon, might be on Hulu, might be on, I don't know where it is. It's pretty good though. It's called Mafia Spies. It's about how the CIA over the years has utilized American organized crime to do some of their black ops. It's pretty good. Learning all about Cuba, which is going to come in handy later today when we get into the rant. Hi, Adam. Oh, I already said hi to Adam. Adam says, let's see. Oh, God, Adam's on a tear. Adam's got multiple posts, so I got to make sure I go back to the beginning. Adam says, why would a Cuban not like Latino? It's Latin America. Well, that is interesting for you to say, because a lot of the people and a lot of the families who consider themselves Cuban now by generational being there, they were the colonizers. They came from Spain, they came from England, they came from Germany, they came from all over Europe. And those people were the big landowners in Cuba. And although they are Cuban by birth and Cuban by, the way my family emigrated to America, they're Americans, so they're Cuban by all that stuff. They do not like to be called Latino because they are not Latino. We are not. There's a difference between us. The German and Austrian and English and No, not the Irish. The Irish didn't colonize anybody. The Irish were just too busy fighting for their own little patch of green floating rock. Adam says, I want all my people to be lifted and successful, but never to the detriment of the collective whole. Look at that. That's someone who lays in bed staring at the ceiling, huh? That's some deep shit. Adam also says, but family and community comes first. KB, my buddy Kevin said, did you just say you are rewatching Soap? Coincidentally, I have been too. Look at that. Well, then, Kevin, you are going to love what Edzilla of Radio Misfits and I have planned. We are both re-binging all of Soap. And we are going to be launching an episode-by-episode podcast on Soap. That's it. I don't want to give too much away, but coming soon to Radio Misfits. And you know how this one is real? Because a lot of times I have these ideas and then I just don't have anybody that I can work with. I just don't have anybody who can facilitate the ideas because I am limited in my abilities. I can promise you that this one is real because King Poobah Ed himself is the guy who came up with the idea, and he asked me to be a part of it. So all I got to do is, I don't know. Ed's a pro. I am not. That's the difference. So yeah, we've been rewatching Soap. I'm on episode 6 now of season 1. I'll tell you, there's a lot of things. There are like I'd like to ask Billy Crystal about the very first scene in which we are told and shown that Jody Dallas, the character that Billy Crystal played on Soap. I would like to ask Billy Crystal, how do you feel about the way Jody's homosexuality was introduced on TV in 1970? I bet he wants that one back. But it's good. It's such a good show. Jody Dallas, the first gay character on television, the first openly gay character, so provocative, so controversial. And I would like to talk to him about that because that was a very important thing that now, I mean, in the moment it was this kid, Billy Crystal, who nobody's ever heard of, will never work again. How do you portray it? He's on TV acting like a fag. I mean, that's how it was openly discussed back then. Billy Crystal would go on in the 80s to be one of the biggest Hollywood stars of the decade. So it didn't hurt him. And now years and years later, it is quite a thing that he can say. He's like, yeah, I played the first openly gay character on television. Again, the very first scene, the way that we're introduced to Jody by 2024 standards is a little bit, in my opinion, troublesome. It's troublesome. I won't spoil it for you. You can watch it. But it's like, yeah, I don't think the gays are down with that kind of portrayal in 2024. You shouldn't be doing that, Billy Crystal. But the bigger picture is how Billy played him over the course of the show. And Jody, the gay character, became the most practical, the most dependable, the nicest, the only normal one, other than, where he puts his pee-pee, which shouldn't be a calculus at all. He was. And so I really do think that the impact on me, I was like 8 years old when the show started, and I watched it from the time it aired. I had very little parental supervision. And she was like, whatever, what are you watching? It's on TV, it must be fine. But that was my introduction to gay people. My whole thing before meeting Jody Dallas on Soap was that gay guys were child molesters and that they were all bad, and if somebody was gay, that was reason enough to never speak to them again. And here's the other thing. Nobody was gay. Nobody. When I was little, nobody was gay. That was like a boogeyman thing. I mean, I kind of understood that it was real, but nobody. And then Jody Dallas comes on Soap. And it's like, holy crap, that's a gay guy. Look at him. And he's funny. Get out of here. Yeah. So KB says, I'm halfway through season 2. KB says Richard Mulligan was brilliant. So was Jessica. Yeah, you know what? This is why we're doing a whole podcast. And I don't want to give away some of the things that I'm going to talk about. But Richard Mulligan is a goddamn comedic genius. He is. Why wasn't he bigger? I mean, I know he went on to have Empty Nest and a TV show, and he did a couple of movies. But holy cow, the way Richard Mulligan portrays Burt Campbell, hysterical. I don't know that there's ever been a funnier character on TV. I have to I have to make that list. And now after rewatching Soap, I'm like, there is no way that Burt Campbell doesn't make a top 5 funniest television characters of all time. And now let's talk about Jessica for a moment. Jessica Tate, wife of Chester Tate, played by Katherine Hellman, who another generation knows her most prominently as Mona from Who's the Boss. Remember, she would go on to be Mona. She was the grandma in Who's the Boss. But in Soap, she was like 52 or something. I think I looked it up. I looked it up because Katherine Hellman as Jessica Tate in Soap is hot. Mona from Who's the Boss is hot. And I don't think I ever saw this because I was 8 years old. And she was like, man, that's a grandma. And I didn't really appreciate. She was hot. There's a scene where she is running around in a little tennis outfit in episode 1. Oh my God, my jaw was on the floor. Also, shout out to Corinne Tate, the daughter. Also very hot. This is why it's fun to rewatch a show that you watched as a kid that dealt in very complicated grown-up issues. Because as a kid, I didn't know any of this. I didn't appreciate the sexuality of anybody. And now as a grown-up, I'm rewatching it and I'm going, all right. Corinne is adorable and Jessica Tate is hot. Barney says she was a gilf. I don't know that she was a gilf in Soap. She's a 52-year-old woman who still looked smoking hot in 1977 or whatever it was. I don't know if that's a gilf, right? Maybe Mona. I think Mona on Who's the Boss. But I never thought Mona on Who's the Boss was hot either. I thought Sam was hot. Sam Maselli. There were nobody. I wasn't tuning in for anybody on Who's the Boss other than Alyssa Milano. Age appropriate. She was like, I could ask her to homecoming and it wouldn't be weird. She was hot. Alyssa Milano. Sam Maselli. So I wasn't even noticing Mona the grandma, but I'm noticing her now. I'm noticing her as Jessica Tate on Soap. All right, let's get started with today's show. It is The Rant. We do it every day. It's all the things you need to know about today. That's enough small talk. That's enough stuff about me. Let's get started. It is the 18th day of September, year of our Lord, 2024. It is the 262nd day of the year. That's because of leap years. There's 104 remaining until the end of the year, New Year's Eve, 104 until New Year's Eve. Here, you know what? Every day we like to award the title of executive producer of the show, and we've got one today that I just can't say thank you enough to. Big donation from Tiffany L. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Good Lord. Every now and again we get these nice sized. And I won't tell. I never give out the number in my. I don't want to do that. I only do that when we're counting down to a number so that I can keep everything above board. But look, somebody who tips $1 is great. Somebody who tips 50 is great. You know, it's like the fact that you are thinking that any way that you can support this show. I love it. You guys are great. So thank you so much to Tiffany. I almost said Leslie. Leslie was yesterday. Happy executive producer day to you, Tiffany L. Thank you so much. And if you want to help support the show, you can drop a little something. You can be tomorrow's executive producer. Just hit up the Venmo or the Cash App. All right, let's get started with quarter one. We call it antecedently on this day. These are the events that have helped shape our understanding of what this day has been throughout time. So let's get started. On this day, antecedently in 1066. Yeah, we're going way back. 1066, Norwegian King Harald Hardrada lands with Tostig Godwinson at the mouth of the Humber River and begins his invasion of England. This is it. This is where it all started to fall apart. See, for years, the Vikings had been raiding the coast of England. See, the thing about the Vikings is that the Vikings were actually the shit hillbillies of like the Norwegian Swedish Empire of the time. And they were all pushed to like this part of Viking land where nothing grew. It was all rocks. So they had to take to the seas. And, you know, once they got tired of eating fish, they started going, what else is out here? And they found land. And as soon as the Vikings found land, they just started stealing everything from the people that were there. And those were the Viking raids that had taken place over a period of time, hundreds of years. But they never settled. And what the Vikings really needed was land. They had no land. They couldn't grow crops. They wanted to be farmers. They didn't want to be these raiders and killers and all this stuff. They wanted to settle down, but the Swedish king gave them a shit land. So, they decided, what if instead of raiding England, what if we stayed? What if we stayed? And the Vikings stayed. And the Vikings changed what England is. England, a proud British people. No, you're not. You're all Vikings and Germans and Romans, and you've all been conquered. We don't even know what the English people are at this point. But anyway, yeah, it all started for real on this day when the massive Viking armies arrived in England, 1066. On this day antecedently in 1862, the Confederate States celebrate the first and only Thanksgiving Day. Confederate Thanksgiving. They moved Thanksgiving. I don't know that that's true. Was Thanksgiving in 1862 firmly established as like a Thursday in November? I don't know. Whatever. Confederate Thanksgiving Day, September 18th. They only had one of them. That's sad. On this day, antecedently in the year 1960, look at this. I'm sorry. On this day, antecedently in the year 1927, the Columbia Broadcast System goes on the air. CBS. This is CBS. Worked for CBS in some way, shape, or form for about 15 years of my life. Can I just say, full-throatedly, fuck CBS. Fuck them. Those people suck. CBS started on this day in 1927. The Tiffany Network. They're so arrogant. It's like, you guys suck. CBS on this day in 1927. Antecedently on this day in 1960. Here's why I can talk about this. Yeah, I said, I'm watching stuff about Cuba. Got all kinds of fresh Cuban knowledge and stuff that I already knew, but, been reminded of. On this day in 1960, Fidel Castro arrives in New York City as the head of the Cuban delegation to the United Nations. 1960. So this is pre-Bay of Pigs. This is pre-Cuban Missile Crisis. This is, before Cuban was the worst, or Fidel was the worst person in the world. At least to the American public, he wasn't the worst person in the world. He was, to the Eisenhower administration, absolutely the worst person in the world, because the Eisenhower administration took one on the chops when their puppet dictator Batista was run out on a rail for executing people in the middle of the night. Batista was a fascist dictator who ruled over American corporate interests in Cuba to the detriment of the Cuban people. For years, there was two classes in Cuba. My friend who's Cuban refused to say he's Latino. He was in one of the rich classes, and that was only like 2% of the people. 98% of the people in that country were living in hillsides, killing dogs, eating cats imported from Springfield, Ohio. It was nuts. So finally, the people had enough, and the people rose up against Batista, and they were led by this guerrilla by the name of Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro, do you know Fidel Castro wasn't a guerrilla? Like, this whole image that we, the American people, have of Fidel Castro actually came from one of those 2% families. Fidel Castro was the son of one of Cuba's largest landowners who were run out of business by the revolution that Fidel Castro was behind. Fidel Castro was a highly educated, silver-spooned, sophisticated civil rights lawyer in Havana. That's who he was, okay? He wasn't chasing chickens around in the town square. That's not what Fidel Castro was. And he got, he went up and he started advising. He began as an advisor to these revolutionaries, and he all of a sudden became their leader. So in 1960, after the fall of Batista, which, by the way, America hated because we liked controlling. We liked controlling that island there. That was like a way we could wash our money. There was all kinds of illicit shit going on there. The United States Mafia, organized crime, they basically ran all the tourism in Cuba, and Cuba was big on tourism. And then like big conglomerate corporations based in America ran everything else. From, the fishing and the shipping and the portage and the sugar cane and all of that. The Cuban people had nothing. So when you talk about a revolution, look at it from that perspective. These people rose up in much the same way that we did back in 1776, and we took down a dictator who was basically giving the people nothing. Fidel Castro in 1960 was widely seen in the way I just described to you by the American public when he came to New York City. Ticker tape parades, People were people were amazed at him. He was called the George Washington of Cuba. That was the original. But the Eisenhower administration didn't like that because once again, we were playing a much larger Cold War game. And an unstable Cuba. Bottom line is this about Fidel Castro and how it all went bad. It all went bad when Fidel Castro made a relationship with the Soviet Union. And Fidel Castro had to do that. See, this is the thing. 90 miles away, Fidel Castro was looking at the United States. By the way, he believed in democracy. He was a civil rights attorney in Cuba. He was very westernized. He believed in all of that stuff. He just wanted to see the Cuban people stop getting destroyed. This is a long story. I'm not going to spend a long time on it, but it is a long story, and I'm kind of trying to be succinct with it. So Castro comes to power, and the American people are trying to kill him. The government, the CIA, is sending spies over to poison him and to blow up his cars and all of this shit. And out of sheer desperation, he turned to the Soviet Union and said, hey, because your enemy's enemy is your friend. And there was no reason for us to be enemies with Cuba other than America wanted to reinstall the dictator Batista and didn't like what this Cuban guy was doing. Now, from that point, once he became a communist, and he did become a communist because he believed that that was the way to run, he became a piece of shit dictator himself. But in the beginning, man, he was forced into the arms of the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Fidel Castro, 90 miles from Miami. This guy was forced into the arms of the Soviet Union because he had no choice, because the Americans were trying to kill him. They wouldn't recognize him. The UN did, and that's why he came here in 1960. Also, President Eisenhower at the time refused to meet with him. That was like a big snub of Fidel Castro's visit to New York in 1960, that they refused to meet with him. And because of this, a number of the big hotels in New York City refused to grant the Cuban delegation any kind of housing. It was like a stupid thing, but it was, we're going to show him what we think. So he stayed in Harlem. He stayed in Harlem and used that to give all of these revolutionary speeches to black people in some big square in Harlem. I mean, it's like everything that he did, he was forced into doing in the early days. I can't defend some of the stories that we've seen come out of Cuba in the late 60s and the 70s and the 80s. By all accounts, Fidel Castro turned into a real madman. But in the beginning, it's more complicated than he was just a bad guy. Fidel Castro, on this day in 1960, he arrives in New York. Let's see here. Antecedently on this day in 1984, Joe Kittinger completes the first solo balloon crossing of the Atlantic. 1984, this fucking schmo does this. 1984. I break Charles Lindbergh's balls a lot, primarily because he was a fucking Nazi and friend of Hitler, okay? But also because what Charles Lindbergh did, I've done, right? I can't be all that impressed. You're a hero for the ages because you flew from New York to London or wherever, Paris, whatever. I've done that. I've done that now. That's not a thing. He's only credited because he was the first guy to do it. But then after he did it, everybody was like, this is easy. This is fucking easy. He just got lucky because he did it first. Okay, so that's my Lindbergh rant. This guy, 84, he's taking a balloon across the Atlantic because I'm the first person to ever do it. And you got to ask, is that because nobody ever needed to? We don't need to take a balloon across the Atlantic. If taking a balloon across the Atlantic wasn't attempted before 1870, we don't need it. We don't need a balloon. Planes, we had planes. 1984, this idiot does it. And you know what he is? This is before rich guys started spending money on Mars. All of these, we used to have this thing, in the 80s, we used to have these like rich guys. Steve Fawcett, very famous rich guy. He would balloon all around the world because they couldn't build rockets. I don't know why. I don't know why they hadn't tried to build rockets. That took Elon and Bezos and all these guys. Richard Branson, though, also. Steve Fawcett, Richard Branson, he moved into rockets. He was a big balloon guy. You got this guy. We're going to take balloons. Nobody wants to travel via balloon. It doesn't matter if you're the first person to take a balloon across the Atlantic. Nobody wants to do that. We don't need to do that. It seems expensive. It seems excessively hostile, at least the climate. It's a dumb thing, and you're doing it because you're rich and you want everybody to look at you. And on this day in 1984, everybody looked at him. Crossing the Atlantic in a balloon, you fucking idiot. On this day, antecedently, in 2001, the very first of the anthrax letters were sent from Trenton, New Jersey. Anthrax letters, remember that? Remember when that was a thing? The old Live 105.3 radio station, they overreacted in a big corporate way. Because the media were a target. We need to feel important. They had to rent the radio station I worked at. They had to rent a trailer. Let's call it a trailer, like a construction trailer. Yeah, like where they would have the construction office on a construction site. So they rented a trailer like that, and they put it in the back office, the back parking lot. Took up like 30 parking spots, and everybody's like, why is there no parking? Because of the stupid trailer that's back there now. And that was where you had to open mail. So any mail that was delivered to the radio station had to be taken instead to the trailer. It was not allowed in the building. It was taken directly to the trailer, where somebody would have to then open the anthrax letters alone in this trailer. There were never any anthrax letters. We never got an anthrax letter. It was an overreaction. But here's what we always joked about on the air, because we could see from our window in our studio, we could see when someone would walk out there with a big bag of mail. And they always sent, remember now, we're being very serious. This is so that if anything goes wrong, we can have we're assured of some form of deniability, and we can say that we tried, okay? We've got a trailer. We're not letting the mail in. We're trying. But they would send an intern in like a T-shirt and shorts just to open the shit. Like if something was in there, if the mobile trailer and doing the mail offsite, if it was warranted, you just killed an intern. There were no hazmat suits. There was nothing like that. It was just this girl, Christy, walking across the parking lot with a bag of mail to go possibly die. So stupid. Well, we can afford to lose one. If we lose the one in the parking lot, I mean, there was no offer. And we know this because we said to her, we asked her, we're like, so when you go in there, what do? You got to like put on like this cover. She said, no, I just sit down and go through the mail. And how many school credits are you getting for this? None, you say. Just an opportunity to be in the glamorous world of big time major market radio, I guess. Yikes. Send the kid out there with the poison mail. Let's see if they come back. Literally, canary in the coal mine stuff. That's what it was. Total canary in the coal mine stuff. Barney's got a comment on old rich guys, and I've always got time for people who want to take down old rich guys. Although Barney might be carrying water. I don't know. Barney says, I think old rich guys get in a situation where they are ready to die, but they can afford the best health care. So they are looking for an honorable way to go out. I like that. That's good. But see, here's the thing, like Steve Fawcett and Branson and even Musk and Bezos, these are not old rich guys. Like back in the 80s, like Steve Fawcett was like in his 30s and a billionaire. So was Branson. And he's going around in a balloon. So they're not old rich guys. So it's not a dare thing. I really think it's just, I've got all of this money and I've got all of this power, but I've got no fame. Nobody knows me when I walk into a restaurant. I can't sing, I can't act. And so they get in a balloon and they become like an adventurer. Look at me, I'm Sir Edmund Hillary. First mailing of anthrax letter. Well, in emailing of an anthrax letter, that would be something. But the first mailing of anthrax letters occurred on this day in 2001. And on this day in 2014, Scotland decided to stick around. Scotland voted overwhelmingly to bend the knee to the Queen. As an Irishman, my Scottish cousins, they do nothing but disappoint with how willing to be subservient to the crown they are. The Scottish people on this day in 2014 voted against independence from the United Kingdom. They could have been independent. They could have been like the Republic of Ireland, a proud group of people who aren't even satisfied with what they got. They still want Northern Ireland. That fight is not over. Fucking Scots. We love the Scots. They're our cousins. Hell, half of Ireland is Scotland. Half of Scotland is Ireland. Those people migrated back and forth. We're all the same people at this point. We just don't have the same heart. No, we don't. Got to be born on the Emerald Isle to have that fight, that willingness to go against the crown, to say no to colonialism. The Scots don't have it. Maybe it's because the Scots are attached. Maybe that's it. The Scots are directly attached via landmass to England. Maybe that's harder. Yeah, the Irish, we got the Irish Sea, right? So we got this moat between us, and we're like, come on! We're like yelling at them from one side, and they're yelling at us from the other. Maybe it's a little different with Scotland. Still, very disappointing. Scotland had an opportunity to go, we will not bend the knee, and you did. Everybody should have gone and watched Braveheart the night before the vote in Scotland. They should have just all national TV should have just shown Braveheart. Scotland on this day decides to keep bending the knee like the feckless. Never mind. All right, let's do birthdays. Trying to think, do I have any Scottish friends who are going to be mad at that? Rob, oh my God, which kitty? There he is. There he is in the chat room. That's it. Got halfway through that rant on the pussy Scots. Bend the knee, Rob. Bend the knee for your failing empire. Really, and you're bending the knee for England, man. Scotland should have went, yeah, we're gonna not do England anymore, and now we're gonna bend the knee to America because they're the real power. No, they just decided in 2014 that they were gonna keep bending the knee to the Queen. Scottish people. Now that I've got my target, now that I've got Rob, I can really hammer him. Scotland, the only country in the world to have worse food than the Irish. Scotland, only place in the world you can go. Like if you're eating in Ireland, you're like, well, at least the drinks are pouring. You go to Scotland, it'll be even worse. Scots don't even have a St. Patrick's Day. Scots got none of the fun stuff we Irish have. None of it. And still you bend the knee. Maybe if you wouldn't bend the knee, your culture would be more pervasive in this country. Bend this, Rob says. All right, I will. All right, let's do birthdays. It's time for birthdays. Let's talk about people who were born on this day, and then let's decide whether or not we think they're cool or not, okay? Birthday boys, here we go. They say it's their birthday. Born on this day in 1924, J.D. Tippit. J.D. Tippit, interesting guy, right? J.D. Tippit, do we know that name right away? Here in Dallas, we sure do. J.D. Tippit was the Dallas police officer who was shot an hour after JFK was shot in Dealey Plaza. Tippit was patrolling there in Oak Cliff, Central Oak Cliff, they say, and he came across someone matching the description of Lee Harvey Oswald, the suspect that they were seeking in the assassination of the president a few miles away. Pulled over as Oswald was walking on the street. Oswald came over to the car, and that's where the shooting occurred. Now, let's pull this up here, because I was like, you know what? That's one of those like really important American things. Well, let's see if we can do this. J.D. Tippit, this is part of the Kennedy assassination. And I don't believe that I've ever seen where that happened. Like, where did J.D. Tippit? I know Dallas. I know the Dallas area. So let's check this out on a map. This is Patton Avenue and 10th Street in Oak Cliff, which is really from where I am right now, just a mile or two away. All right. So let's get an idea of where we're looking at. All right. So this is south of Oak Cliff, right? So let's pull out. All right, so here you get the Trinity River right here, all of this. So there's this separation with 30 and 35. Where was the shooting? The shooting was where? Here? Hold on. Ah, you son of a bitch. I'm so not good at this. All right, there's that. Now let's see if we can find the shooting. All right, so here's Dallas. Where's the wind spear? There's Bob's. You know what? Where Farmers Market is here. So Dallas Historic Dealey Plaza. All right, there we go. Here's Dealey Plaza. All right, yeah. So here we go. Here's the screwed up. Here's the Dealey Plaza. This is where the assassination took place, right in here, the grassy knoll. So now let's pull out and let's see where Tippit caught Oswald. There it is. Okay, so here's where Tippett caught Oswald. No, never mind. Forget it. You know what? This is just something I should do on my own. I completely screwed it up. Anyway. I hate myself for this stuff. I do want to see the street corner, though. I do want to see that. Fuck. Maps. I don't know, Steve Lookner, the guy who does agenda-free TV, he is so good at the map game. He can use Google Maps in a way live on a stream that's just so effortless. It's like watching Peyton Manning back there. Me, not me. I'm like Mitch Trubisky. All right, so here we go. Let's check this out. Let's get a different look. Save it again. Here we go. Okay. All right, so here we go. Let's go in. Now it's right there. It's right there by a high school. What high school is that? Adamson High School. You guys, William H. Adamson High School is right there. So here we go. This is where it happened. Let's see if we can get a street view of this. There we go. Okay, I wanted the street view, but didn't get the. Oh, there's even a memorial. Oh, look at this. I didn't even know. Look at it says J.D. Tippett Memorial. Let's see what that looks like. So this is where. All right, this has got to be it right here, right? Yeah. All right. So and then there's a high school right there. Okay, anyway, there you go. I always wondered. Because we know about the theater. We know about the theater. We know about Dealey Plaza. We know about the theater where Oswald was finally caught. But then we know J.D. Tippett got shot, and look at it. There it is. All right, right there in Oak Cliff. 10th and Patton in Oak Cliff. Let's see. What else do we have here? Let's do another birthday. Celebrating a birthday born on this day. Happy birthday to Robert Blake. That's the name of it. Boom. Robert Blake, Beretta. He was Mickey from the Little Rascals. So what do we know about Robert Blake? Like, see, this is how media sets in our brain. Like, if I were to walk on the street right now, I mean, I can't do it in a chat room because you people will Google it, and then I'm gonna have the right answer by Googling it. But if you were to just like ask somebody on the street and say, "Did Robert Blake kill his wife?" Like, what would they say? Is Robert Blake a murderer? Did Robert Blake kill his wife? Because I think I would answer, yeah, he killed his wife. He killed his wife. He didn't kill his wife. Robert Blake got the OJ treatment. Robert Blake they did not find evidence that he had killed his wife, Bonnie Lee Bakley, which is, my God, this is an interesting story. Okay, because I do know a little bit about the whole Bonnie Lee Bakley thing. So if you remember, Robert Blake, who played Beretta, and he was a TV star, he played Perry in Cold Blood. I mean, he's done big things in his career, going all the way back to when he was a kid on The Little Rascals. He played Mickey. He's always been a bit of a Hollywood tough guy, always been a bit of a Hollywood troublemaker. When he was the star of Beretta, he was one of the most powerful people in television. And, he had a bad reputation for being somebody that people didn't want to deal with. So that's what we know about Robert Blake. He took no shit from anybody ever, and he was kind of a fucking badass guy, even though he was a tiny little dude, but whatever, it's overcompensating. Napoleon complex, I guess. Robert Blake was married in like 1960, and he got divorced in like 1972. And then Robert Blake was single for the rest of his life. Throughout the 70s, throughout the 80s, throughout the 90s, he was single. And then he met a woman in a jazz club by the name of Bonnie Lee Bakley. And apparently, I mean, I don't know. Apparently she was hot. I've seen pictures. I've seen pictures of the woman. Bonnie Lee Bakley, the victim, ended up marrying Robert Blake. She got pregnant. Here's how they got married. She got pregnant, and she was also dating Christian Brando at the same time she was dating Robert Blake, who she met at a jazz club. She got pregnant, and she wanted the baby to be Christian Brando's kid. She wanted the baby to be associated with the Brando family because, I don't know, apparently there's a long game that she was looking at, and the Brandos have obviously deeper pockets than Robert Blake. So she went around claiming it was Brando's kid, and she even named the kid like Shannon Christian Brando or, whatever. But then Christian Brando was like, I don't think that's my kid. I don't think that. And they were giving some pushback. So then she turns to Robert Blake and she goes, oh, hey, I think it might be your kid. And Blake's like, I need a paternity test, baby. And so she went, Bonnie Lee Bakley, she got a paternity test, and it turned out that it was, in fact, Robert Blake's kid. It's Robert Blake's kid. So he's like, well, now we got to get married. So remember, this guy was married between like 1960 and 1972, and then got divorced, and he's been single this whole time. So he doesn't go into marriage lightly. And he seems to be a traditional guy. He's like, well, if it's my kid, I'm going to give it my name. And that's the name of that tune. You know, that was a very Robert Blake-esque way he talked. So he did it. So he married her, and he ended up marrying this chick, and he fucking hated her. And you can't blame him. Bonnie Lee Bakley was a train wreck of a woman. She was a dude. I made such a big deal about Robert Blake being married once to a woman for like 12 years, raised a couple of kids, and then got divorced in the early 70s. And then he was single, and then he knocked up Bonnie Lee Bakley, and he married her. And I mentioned that just to show that he's not a guy who frivolously marries. Robert Blake was Bonnie Lee Bakley's 10th husband. 10. He's been married 10 times. She was a con artist who had been arrested multiple times. She was arrested one time in, I think, Arizona. She had 10 driver's licenses with 10 different identifications and 10 different social security numbers. She used all of these identities to run mail order scams back in the day when you could run mail order scams. One of her more successful businesses was before OnlyFans. She would take dirty pictures of herself, advertise in the back of like Screw magazine, and get perverts from around the country sending her money for, naked pictures. That's who Bonnie Lee Bakley is. This woman who crashes into Robert Blake's life, and he thinks he's doing the right thing by marrying her, which is dumb, and that's what she wanted because she thinks she's got a Hollywood star now. She dated a bunch of people, man, like a bunch of celebrities, a whole, but not just Robert Blake and Christian Brando. She must have been hot, but I ain't seen it. So anyway, they go out to dinner at an Italian restaurant. They've been married now for a couple of years, and the little baby is growing up, and she's awful. He hates her. His bodyguard is like, oh, they hated each other. They had absolutely nothing in common, and they despised one another. But every week they would go out to dinner at this nice little Italian restaurant on a Friday night. So they go out to dinner, and they have dinner, and they enjoy the evening. Nobody in the restaurant reported any kind of weirdness between them. They left. They got in the car, and as they're getting in the car, Robert Blake goes, oh, wait. I forgot something in the restaurant. Robert Blake goes into the restaurant. What did he forget? His pistol. He forgot his gun, because that's what responsible gun owners do. They go out for a couple of cocktails and an evening of steaks and Italian food, and then they leave their firearm. I don't know. I think it might be under the... Come on, idiot. Anyway, that was his excuse. Hold on, baby, before we get out of here, I got to go back in. I got to get my gun. So he goes and he gets his gun, and when he comes back, she's dead. She's dead in the car, shot in the head. It is important to note that the gun that he had, the gun that he supposedly went back into the restaurant for, was not the murder weapon. His gun, because it all looks bad. Like, it all just looks bad. Gun is involved. You guys hate each other. Everybody says she trapped you into a marriage. She's been married 10 times. She's got a rap sheet at both the state level and federal level. I seriously don't know what the hell happened here. I think Robert Blake killed her. I really do. I think he killed her. And I think there just wasn't enough evidence, and he got away with it. But I think he killed her. But he was not convicted. Anyway, born on this day in 1933, Robert Blake. That's a crazy story. He got away with it, man. There are people in Hollywood who I think have gotten away with murder. Most notably O.J. Simpson. I mean, I think he's the first one everybody thinks of. O.J. Simpson got away with murder. I think Robert Blake got away with murder. I think Robert Wagner may have gotten away with murder. And I love Robert Wagner. Robert Wagner is at least complicit in something that went down in the death of Natalie Wood. That's at least people have gotten away with murder. Born on this day. There you go. Robert Blake, 1933. Born on this day, also in 1933. How about this guy? He's like the opposite of Robert Blake, energy-wise. They were born on the same day in the same year. You got Robert Blake, and now you got Fred Willard. Fred Willard is the 180 opposite of Robert Blake. Fred Willard, he's also dead. Very sad. Fred Willard, just joy. Just joy. This is just joy. Whenever I see Fred Willard, it doesn't matter. He never starred in anything really, but he was always like a side character who would come in and just steal the scene from anybody. His energy was so good. Nobody, I'm trying to think of maybe other people do, because there is a larger style or genre, if you will, of this kind of comedy that he did. And I think it's most effectively done and most consistently done as like the bubble-headed blonde. Usually it's a female character who is just, he was like this male, oblivious, deeply stupid, yet composed, intelligent guy. He played that role, he played that note and that tone in just about every character that he created. He's just so funny. Just so great. Wasn't he in was Fred Willard in Modern Family? Did he play Phil Dunphy's dad in Modern Family? Because that's just perfect. That is really kind of perfect. Fred Willard was awesome. Born on this day in 1933. Born on this day in 1951 and also dead, because they're all dead. Who's going to see the Ramones? They're all dead. Dee Dee Ramone, bass player, died on this day. Or born on this day, 1951. He's also dead. Oh, God, here's one. This one sucks. This is a dude, man. I love this guy. He was born on this day. He also died. Shouldn't be dead, but is dead. Born on this day in 1961, James Gandolfini. I talked about Burt Campbell from Soap being possibly one of the funniest characters in the history of television. I think you pull out and you look at that more broadly and you say, who's the best character in the history of television? And I very well think it might be a fist fight between Archie Bunker and James Gandolfini as Tony Soprano. Tony Soprano might be the best character in the history of television. That guy was so complex. There was so much going on in that character. And nobody could have played him the way James Gandolfini did. And there were quite a few people who did almost play Tony Soprano. I don't know if you've seen on HBO Max, but they've got this new documentary. It's a two-parter. I think it's like 4 hours long, but it's David Chase. It's David Chase on The Sopranos. David Chase is the creator of The Sopranos. It's really good. It's interesting, and it tells you all of this story. James Gandolfini, there were a bunch of different people that were, for instance, I'll give you this. Stevie Van Zandt, who played Silvio. He was originally brought in as Tony to be Tony Soprano. But then they saw James Gandolfini and they went, no. God, he was great. Just dropped dead, heart attack. He was great. I'll give you an example of how great he was. So when The Sopranos really took off, like after season 2, The Sopranos was the biggest show in television. The actors on the show were all the hottest and some of the most high-profile people in the entertainment business. They were getting movies. They were getting looks and other things. James Gandolfini became incredibly important, and his agents renegotiated his pay. They came in to do an HBO show, and they were all unknowns. So their first contract, it's like, yeah, we'll give you $500 an episode. You know, not that, but something like that. Something you would give a no name. Probably a good living. You know, probably they made like $500,000 a year as unknown actresses and actors playing this, pilot episode of whatever. It was good money for normal people, but not good money for Hollywood people. And by year 2, Gandolfini's people had renegotiated and made him the highest paid actor in television. Any television, network, all of that stuff. So it was a huge windfall for Tony, not so much for the rest of the actors. Now, the rest of the actors would renegotiate over time, and they all got taken care of. But when Tony first got taken care of, when they paid Tony, when HBO backed that money truck up and made James Gandolfini commit to doing at least 5 more years of Tony Soprano, you know what Tony Soprano did? You know what James Gandolfini did? He took that money and he cut it all up, and he gave every member of the Sopranos crew, every member, the lighting guys, the gaffers, you know, when you see the credits at the end, where you see all of these people, he paid out over 200 people, they said, $30,000 each. He gave away, like he was almost, they said that he was probably making more or less after giving that money away than he did in the, he took care of the crew, $30,000 each. They all got envelopes with 30,000 grand. That's James Gandolfini. Now, he also said that he did that because James Gandolfini was also known on the set to be unavailable at times when they needed him. James sometimes came in late. James sometimes missed calls. And he felt deeply bad about that because, you know, he's out there playing the Hollywood star and staying out late and playing poker with the boys until 5 a.m. and mission calls and all that stuff. But that's okay because he's untouchable, because he's Tony Soprano from the HBO show. He realized, he was like, you know what? But there are people who get their asses out of bed to drag a lighting rig at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they ain't making nearly what I'm making. So that's why he did it. He gave him 30 grand each. He's like, I'm sorry for being an asshole star. I hope this makes it better for you. That's a dude, man. That's a dude. James Gandolfini, born on this day in 1961. Born on this day in 1971. When we talk about falls from graces, we got to mention Lance Armstrong. Lance Armstrong, born on this day in 1971. Remember, there was a period of time where he basically was curing cancer. Everybody was like, he's the greatest human to ever live. And then it turns out he cheated, and we all turned on him like we turned on a dime. Born on this day in 1971. Born on this day in 1975, one of the just best energy dudes out there. This guy just brings the kindness, he brings the warmth, he brings the decency, and he brings the fun. Jason Sudeikis, born on this day in 1975. Born on this day in 1978, Billy Eichner. I just can't with this guy. I just can't. Too much. Billy, too much. What? Billy, calm down. You're too much all the time. Way too big. I can't do Billy Eichner. We're going to move on from this one. Billy Eichner, born on this day in 1978. Born on this day in 1993. Isn't this interesting? We talked about him yesterday. How did we talk about him yesterday? Why? Oh, because we were talking about the Aaron Hernandez show. There's a Ryan Murphy of American Horror Story and Glee and all that. He's got a new series on FX. It's kind of like OJ Made in America. Ryan Murphy did the whole OJ thing. Remember, he made Cuba Gooding Jr. OJ and David Schwimmer, Robert Kardashian. It was great. Oh, it's a fun watch. So he's doing it again, but he's doing it with Aaron Hernandez, of course, the New England Patriots tight end who murdered people. Just crazy murdering football player guy. So that debuted last night on FX. And we learned that it portraying the role of Tim Tebow would be a birthday boy today, born on this day in 1993, Patrick Schwarzenegger. Talked about Patrick Schwarzenegger yesterday. I told you about how I don't know what to do with this kid. I wasn't given a whole lot in life, okay? I wasn't given a whole lot in life. My father was taken from me when I was 6 months old. I grew up with a mother. Now, I understand that the universe being what it does, it actually made up for that by giving me a mother that was better than any other option I possibly could have gotten. So I'm going to bank that. I'm going to say that's good. But everything else has been kind of like, I didn't get incredible looks. I didn't get a lightning bolt in my left arm that would propel me to the majors at 20 years old. No, I didn't get any of that. I didn't get nothing. I got game with chicks. That's something that I developed on my own in college and then later used in radio. But I got that for an ugly guy. I can flirt with girls. I got that. But that's it. I'm bald. I'm fat. Now I'm old. I mean, I know that happens to everybody, but still. So when a guy like me has to look at someone like Patrick Schwarzenegger, I get a little bit. It's like, okay, I fucking hate this person. Patrick Schwarzenegger is, of course, the son of Maria Shriver and and Ronald Schwarzenegger. Yeah, Ronald Schwarzenegger, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So he grew up the son of the governor of California. His daddy was the governor. His mom is Maria Shriver. His mom's on TV. So he's got the whole Schwarzenegger thing. He decides he wants to be an actor. He's like, I want to be an actor. So that's good because he's got the Schwarzenegger thing. One of the biggest box office champions in the history of the Hollywood film industry is your dad. So, you're going to meet people. You're going to get auditions that maybe other guys won't get. So that's good. That's a benefit. And then I talked about yesterday on his mom's side, if the Schwarzenegger thing in California isn't enough, he's also a Kennedy, just so the rest of the country can be like, oh yeah, we have to bow down to him too because he's a fucking Kennedy. He's like JFK's grandnephew. He's JFK's grandnephew. And then on top of that, here he is. Have you guys seen Patrick Schwarzenegger? Have you seen what this kid looks like? I swear to God. I should hate him. I should hate him, except the only thing I've ever seen him in was in The Boys spinoff. It's not The Boys. What's that called? There was a Boys spinoff. I don't know, whatever it is. He was in that. He played a superhero, and he was good. And I thought, okay, maybe he's good. Here he is. Look at this handsome son of a bitch. What am I supposed to do with this? You're telling me your dad's Arnold Schwarzenegger, your mom is a direct descendant to the Kennedy presidential line. Your dad's Arnold Schwarzenegger, your mom's a Kennedy. Apparently you're a good actor and you look like this? Look at this guy. Jesus, I'm not even gay and I'd consider doing. Look at that! Freaking Patrick Schwarzenegger. Who does he look? He kind of look like. I don't know, what does he look like? He doesn't look like anybody. He doesn't look like Maria Shriver. He does. He's got some Kennedy to him, doesn't he? He does. You gotta admit, he's got this, like a picture like this. He looks more like a Kennedy kid than a Schwarzenegger. Look at him. God damn this guy. All right. Happy birthday to you, you son of a bitch. I don't know what it is. I like you despite everything telling me I should hate you. Happy birthday to Patrick Schwarzenegger, born on this day in 1993. Let's do some deads. These are people who have died. All right. People have died. Gen V. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Ballard. Gen V is the name of the Boys spinoff that Patrick Schwarzenegger was in. And he was good. He wasn't a major character, but I saw him and I went, is that fucking Schwarzenegger kid? And then so I started watching him. I'm like, he's good. Okay, he's okay. He's not just, getting this job because he can act. He did one scene, I think, where whatever. Point is this, I should hate him, and I don't know why, but I do hold out the opportunity, the chance to hate him in the future. If he starts dating like Sydney Sweeney or something like that, fuck it, I'm out. I'm out. He can't have everything. You can't be given everything. Especially when most of us are given nothing. All right, deads. Dead on this day in 1970. Here's a big one. We like to decide if they went to heaven or hell. Dead on this day in 1970. Jimi Hendrix. I think from all that I understand about Jimi Hendrix, he's in heaven. Jimi Hendrix was basically like retarded. He was guitar retarded. Any of you guys ever have a friend who's guitar retarded? That's a friend who plays guitar, and that's a friend who always has a guitar with him, and that's a friend who you can't have a conversation with everybody else just sitting around without him being completely into the guitar. Like you're talking to everybody else about important stuff, and then you go, what do you... I'll tell you, my friend Frank was guitar retarded. You'd be like, yeah, what do you think, Frank? And then he'd be like, huh, what? Fuck you, Frank. Pay attention. We're deciding what we want on the pizza. Do you want... Dude, I'm cool. Whatever you want on the pizza. Bling, 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 bling. You are fucking guitar retarded. Anyway, that's kind of what... Guitarded. You're guitarded. Oh, my God. Why didn't I put that together quick enough? Guitarded. That's a thing. Let's make it a thing. Jimi Hendrix was a bit guitarded. He really nice, really genuine. Everybody liked him. He never hurt anybody, but he never hurt anybody because he was never doing anything other than just noodling on his guitar in the corner. So Jimi Hendrix, we're going to put you in heaven. Is he the greatest guitar player of all time? I've had this conversation. I don't play guitar. I don't play any musical instruments. I can fuck around on a keyboard a little bit and make a little bit of music out of it, but I'm not musically inclined. But I have often said to my friends who are especially guitar players, and it's always a question I say, is Jimi Hendrix the greatest guitar player of all time? Because programming tells us one thing, but then when you are steeped in something with knowledge that, supersedes the programming, you tend to, and most guitar players will tell you that Jimi Hendrix was not the greatest guitar player of all time. They will say that Jimi Hendrix was one of the greatest guitar innovators of all time, and that he did things that hadn't been done before. He did things and played in a way that people hadn't really seen. But since he's done that, other people have been better at it. Other people have been, so he's not the greatest. Most important guitar player of all time, that's a different conversation. That's a conversation because nobody put the guitar on the map quite the way that Jimi Hendrix did. But is he the best? He's in the conversation for sure. And default settings all say that we go, he's the best of all time. But, maybe not. Maybe not. Anyway, he's going to heaven. Jimi Hendrix died on this day in 1970. Did he puke on his own vomit? What did he die? Did he have a rock star death? I know it was OD. Of course it was, but was it like a crazy, awesome OD story? Or was it just like he went to bed and he didn't wake up? I don't know. He's going to heaven, though. Born on this because he seemed nice. He was, remember, we coined the phrase right here on the stream. He was guitarded. He didn't hurt anybody. He was just kind of dead on this day in 2002. Here's a local legend, Bullet Bob Hayes. We're putting Bob Hayes in heaven, too. He ran fast, played for the Cowboys. Was also a sprinter in the Olympics and all that good stuff. Bullet Bob Hayes is going to heaven. Heaven. I'm in a weird mood today. Dead on this day in the year 2012, someone who shaped my childhood without question. I used to love this shit. You kids with the YouTube, you're so lucky. When I was a kid growing up in the 80s, I was obsessed with NFL films. NFL film. The frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. They were the greatest things ever. I used to go through the TV guide and I would just go NFL films. And then I'd highlight when NFL films was on. And it'd be like, I got to make a video. I had a videotape of all these like ESPN 3 o'clock in the morning. They're just filling time with NFL films things. And I just watched these. They were incredible. Now they're everywhere. Now it's like, if there is a football player, and I've done this throughout my son's 15, I've done it throughout his entire life. If there's a football player that we're talking about and he doesn't know, like if I have to say something to him like, have you ever seen Earl Campbell run? I mean, now I can just go to YouTube and I can pull up all of these incredible NFL films with footage of these bygone guys. And I think NFL films is great. If you're a football fan, it is our archive. It is the NFL films have been on the sideline in NFL games since the 1950s, filming and documenting and putting all of these. We hear coaches for the first time. It's incredible. On this day in 2012, Steve Sabol died. Steve Sabol was the guy. Now we've got his son. Now whenever you see the NFL films, and they're big time now, they Hollywood studios and all, but now it's their son. Yeah, and he's like, hey, I'm Stu Sabol. I don't even know what his name is. Maybe it's Steve Sabol Jr. But Steve Sabol died on this day in 2012. He was the creator of NFL films, and he is awesome. We're putting him in heaven. Putting him in heaven. What a contribution. I can tell you personally, that's one of the criteria for being put in heaven or hell. If you have made a contribution that I can tether myself directly to, you're going to heaven. And Steve Sabol creating NFL films is something that has brought me a lot of joy in my life. Okay, one more time, a big thank you to our executive producer of today's show, Tiffany L. Thank you, Tiffany. That really meant a lot. The show runs on your tips and your gratuities. If you want to help support this kind of talk radio that talks about the world in general without any sort of political partisanship, please drop a little something in either the Cash App or the Venmo. Thank you so much. If you want to do that, we'll put that up for you. And there it is. All right. quarters 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3 are in the books. Look, it's already 1:21. It's all right. I'm not in that big of a hurry today. I got to record something after this show with somebody else, but we're gonna stretch out. We got plenty of time. I'm drinking the Code Mix. You know, I like the Code Mix. So good, it should be illegal. Here's the problem with the Code Mix. If it's not ice cold, it starts to go like, it's like, and the cans are too big. Cans are too big. I can't drink this much that quickly. Yesterday I told you about E, our buddy E, who owns the E Gallery, and his Halloween decoration that he put out in front of his house. It's like a 20-foot tall. Every time you say it, it gets bigger. I know. I think it's actually like 15 feet tall. But he put out this 30-foot tall Grim Reaper on his front yard. It's a Grim Reaper. You know, death, the hood and the sickle and all of that. So it's like 50 feet tall. And it's there on the front yard of his house. And I drove by it last night again because I just wanted to see it. Excuse me. And I think that it's a little much for Halloween because it's a gigantic Grim Reaper dangling a dead baby. He's holding a dead baby, and the baby is hanging from, and he's 30,000 feet tall. No, okay, so what is it, like 50 feet tall? 50 feet tall, and he's dangling a baby. And then it's motion sensitive with all kinds of computers in it. So if you walk by it, this like 80-foot tall Grim Reaper dangling a dead bloody baby starts going, no one is safe from, and it's fucking weird. And there's blood everywhere. In the whole front yard, there are scattered with bones. There's literally just bones. So it looks like it's too much, is my point. It's like something Clive Barker would do. I'm like, who lives there? What serial killer lives there? And just to compare, down the street from his place, like 3 houses down on the other side of the street, these people have this wonderful big Halloween front yard decoration, and it's blow up minions. It's minions just as, creepy goblins. And then across the street, you've got death and blood, and it's just so weird. So yesterday I was driving by. I just want to see how the neighbors are taking to it. Apparently there have been no complaints so far, but I think they're coming. I think they're coming. So as I was driving by, I saw a husband and a wife. I don't know if they're married. I saw a man and a woman with a little baby. And the baby was like, I don't know, 6 months old. Just like a little baby. And they're standing in the front yard of Emil's house, and they're holding the baby up to the giant. So the baby wasn't scared. And the people were like, this is pretty cool. So I guess they're okay with it. I'm not a Karen. I would never complain about that. But I'm just, by looking at it, I'm like, that could be problematic. If you've got like a Christian church lady Karen, like in your place, in your block. What happened? Why did my screen go? Oh, because it timed out. Oh, I see you. I see you. What should we do? Should we put on some news? Yeah, let's do some news behind us today. Nope, don't want to do that. Hold on. What do we got? We had free news, right? I think yesterday we used free news. I think it was some ABC news stream. Just leave that. Fuck it. We'll just leave that. All right, we'll leave just the logo up. We're fine. All right, let's get into it. Quarter 4. These are all the big events, the news stories, the stuff that people are talking about today. Hold on. Let me do this real quick. Anybody remember? Mikey D talking about Vitello's. Vitello's is the restaurant where Robert Blake took Bonnie Lee Bakley on that fateful night. Mikey D says, I took my kids to Vitello's when we went to Los Angeles a few years ago, specifically because I knew Gordon Keith would like it. Yeah. Is that a Gordo thing? Is he into like, I'm sure he is. He loves all that stuff. So do I. All right, let's get started. These are the top stories of today. These are the things that everybody's talking about. And I just gotta say, I am so impressed. I am I'm so impressed. I couldn't believe it. When I first saw this story, I went, that's cute. This is obviously the media just trying to, use the energy of yesterday's story. They like to do that. Like, I'll give you an example. If a big plane crashes and it's a big news story, it will be a big news story for 2 or 3 days. The aftermath of the clash of so-and-so flights, they'll do it. It'll be a big story for 2 or 3 days. On the fourth day, you'll start to see, we're receiving breaking reports of a plane that has crashed. It has gone down on a highway, and then it's a Cessna. Like, they always just try and keep, because people are interested in the plane stuff. So what else we got? So when I saw this news story break today that walkie-talkies had begun exploding at the funerals of Hezbollah terrorists who were killed in yesterday's beeper explosions, when I first saw walkie-talkies explode, I went, they're really trying. The media is really trying to keep us glued to this story. This is what I thought it was bullshit. Nope, not bullshit, man. I'm telling you, the Israelis, shamelessly aggressive in this war against Hezbollah there in Lebanon. So let's go back to the beginning on this, okay? So we can understand where we are. 2 days ago, the Israelis announced to the world that they were done with operations inside Lebanon. They were done with their assaults on Hezbollah, and that they were moving their attentions to both the West Bank and to Hamas back in Gaza. So, everybody in Hezbollah was probably like, all right, we can take a break. All right, what's something that we've been wanting to do, but we've been too busy fighting this onslaught from the Israelis? What do we want? What can we do? We got some housekeeping around here we can do. And then somebody walked in from the back and went, yeah, we got some new beepers. We got to try these out now. So maybe now would be a good time. Remember, the day before the Israelis said we're done. So they get all these beepers. Like, we got these new beepers from Taiwan, and they're wearing the beepers yesterday. And at a synchronized point, the Israelis blew up the beepers. All of these dudes' beepers went pow, and bunch of people dead. Huge story. I couldn't believe it yesterday. I'm like, this is fucking brilliant, man. This is the Mossad. This is dark. This is dark warfare from the Israelis. This is crazy shit. This is psyops shit. This is a beeper, something you wear, something you feel safe. These things exploded. They had been charged with gunpowder. There was little explosives in there. So that was yesterday. So now we're burying all these people. And by the way, the whole world is going, that's fucking crazy, isn't it? The Israelis, my God, don't fuck with the Israelis. They will get you one way or another. So that's what everybody's talking about. And then they have these funerals today. And the funerals are a big deal because these people are all martyrs. So now everybody's out there on the streets and they're like, it's all so sad. They're such good terrorists. That whole thing's happening. And again, at a synchronized time, walkie-talkies now started to explode. The walkie-talkies that the Hamas officers used for crowd control in these situations of mass martyr funerals or whatever, the walkie-talkies began exploding today, a day after the beepers exploded yesterday. This is fucking insanely devious, effective, psychologically fucked up. My God, do you know that there are no members of Hamas right now, or Hezbollah, excuse me, don't want to confuse the two. There are probably no members of Hezbollah that are within 15 feet of their cell phones right now. They're being cut off. They can't trust anything. This is psychological warfare. The beepers, boom, people dead. Walkie-talkies, boom, people dead. They got to be freaking out. They don't even want to go home and watch their TVs. They don't know what kind of hey, I got a brand new flat screen. Should we plug it in? No, we're not using anything new. It's crazy. Here, we got some great video here. This is, I got two examples of video for you from today's explosions. The first video that I'll show you is going to be from a distance. Okay, this looks to be some kind of a security camera, but what it shows you you're looking for the puffs of smoke. Okay, the puffs of smoke in this video are the different walkie-talkies exploding across the city at different sites of funerals. By the way, I'm unfamiliar with what Hezbollah burial traditions are, but next day, really? Like next day funeral? That's pretty quick. As a Christian, as a lapsed Christian, we 2 or 3 days, right? You got to give people time to take off work and maybe get a suit to the dry cleaners or something. But next day. All right, here. Now this is we're looking at Lebanon. I don't know if you can make it bigger. I can't make it any bigger for you, but you're going to look off in the distance, okay? And what you're going to see is puffs of smoke. This is time lapse, so it's going quick. So the puffs are going to come quick. But look for the puffs of smoke. Those are the walkie-talkies exploding in different parts of the city. Okay, there's one here. There's one here. We had one that just came. There's another. There's one right there. We got any more? This one's still smoke. Oh, this one's really smoking. All right, now we got one here. That's black. That's new. That one just happened here. There's also one over here that I think we missed. How crazy is that? Just all of these puffs of smoke are representing a bunch of terrorists trying to use their walkie-talkies. Oh my God. All right, so there you go. That's from earlier today, just a few hours ago. That's a look at Lebanon and the different explosions. Here's close up. All right, let's see what this is a video from close up. I don't see a big explosion here. And by the way, this comes from a site, the Intel Crab. Okay, this is a Twitter follow who I use. This is the Intel Crab. This is not a freak. This is not a weirdo. This is not somebody who's far right or far left. This person does really good sort of intelligence analysis on these world events. So this is a video from Intel Crab. This is purporting to show us, and I believe it is real because, again, Intel Crab has some credibility. This is showing us a funeral in Lebanon at the street level when these things, when somebody's walkie-talkie explodes. Here we go. Oh. That's a lot of smoke right there, huh? Let's see that again. Let's see this again. And then we're going to be looking down here. There it goes. All right, there we go. That is crazy. Man, not taking a political position on this. I am just pointing out that the Israelis are badass. This is crazy. This is yesterday. It's 2 days ago. We're done with Hezbollah. We think they've learned their lesson. We're going to move on. We're going to take on Hamas. So go ahead, Hezbollah. Smoke them if you got them, is basically the message that the Israelis gave to them. And then the next day, their beepers explode. And then the next day, their walkie-talkies used for crowd control start to explode. Seriously, nobody's texting. No, Hezbollah's communications, their digital communication systems have been completely shut down. And that is absolutely brilliant. I mean, unless you've had a phone that you've had for a couple of years, nobody is using new phones. Everybody's afraid. How did they do this? Let's talk about how they did it with the beepers. Okay, so there's a lot of questions of how did they make the beepers explode? So the beepers were manufactured in Taiwan, but then they're owned by a company that apparently does work in Austria. Okay, so Taiwan and Austria is where we're looking when we're looking at the chain of where these beepers came from. At some point, it is believed that Israeli agents intercepted this shipment of beepers that were intended for and ordered by Hezbollah. Which, I don't know. You pick up the phone and you go, hey, it's Hezbollah. We want 1,000 beepers, right? I don't know how that is, but whatever. They knew that these were the beepers that were being sent to places in Palestine to be used by Hezbollah. So at some point, the Israelis must have intercepted them. And then here's what happened. The beepers were taken out of their packaging and they were opened up, and there were electric charges, little bits of gunpowder were put inside the beepers. And then there was some other chip that was put in there. It was something pretty complicated. And then they were repackaged and they were sent on their way to Palestine, or Lebanon, I should say, Lebanon, where they were opened up and used. They were detonated by a text. So a lot of people said yesterday, they were like, well, what was this? Did it just slowly heat up, and then it exploded? No, there was a trigger that was placed in these beepers and a text message sent them all off. Somebody sent a mass text, some Israeli agent. I mean, there's probably people in a room going, should we send the message? Send the message. And somebody texted, and these beepers all received this particular message, and they all exploded. Brilliant. You got to believe that the walkie-talkies were the same thing, right? The walkie-talkies are probably a new shipment of electronics that they just got, and the Israelis at some point intercepted it. What else do they have that they can no longer trust? Cell phones, automobiles, what? Arms, missiles, did the Israelis get a shipment of missiles from Iran? Did they intercept it and then send them back on? They're just now they just won't launch. They'll just explode I don't know. Like what this is brilliant. Let's see here. This all occurred at funerals today for Hezbollah members that were killed in yesterday's pager bombings. As of right now, it looks like there are 12 dead. They're saying 12 dead from today's 9 dead from yesterday, plus 300 injured. That's yesterday. 12 dead today due to 15 to 20 explosions, all involved walkie-talkies. So there were 15 to 20 different explosions, different walkie-talkies that blew up today. That is insane. All right. Holy shit. Yeah, Barney knows. Barney says Operation Ball Blaster is a go. Send the text. That is one of the injuries that is most common with the pagers. Dudes got their dicks blown off. They survived, but their dick and balls are gone. Don't tell me that is not a psychological message being sent to the men of Hezbollah. There's some deep shit going on here. The Israelis are not to be fucked with. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Diddy. Diddy is still in the news. P. Diddy, Sean Combs. He was arrested yesterday, or maybe the day before at this point. Yeah, the day before. He was arrested the night before in a hotel in the lobby there in New York. Charged with all kinds of things. Charged with sex trafficking and imprisonment and I don't know, all kinds of things. Doesn't matter. They're big, serious charges. He's looking at a lot of time. This is not, slap on the wrist type stuff. He says he's innocent. All kinds of evidence says the opposite, but whatever, right? Day in court. Yesterday he went in front of the judge. He was looking for bail, and the judge was like, "What? Bail? Are you kidding me? You got like houses all around the world. You got passports. You got money. You don't even need passports. You're rich enough. You're Diddy. You can slide out." No, he's a threat to law. He's a threat to run. That's why Diddy was denied bail. I think it was $25 million too, like $25 million bail. So they said, yeah, you can't go, but not because of the obvious reason that he's a flight risk. That's the legitimate reason why he needs to be remanded into custody, because Diddy is absolutely a flight risk. That's not the reason they gave. You know what the reason they gave? The reason they gave was because he is an ongoing and very dangerous threat to the community. No, he's not. No, he's not. P. Diddy is not a threat to the community. That's bullshit. What he is a threat to skip bail. What he is a threat to get on a jet and go live on some island nobody's ever heard of for the rest of his life. That's what he's a threat to do. Stop acting like he's a danger to society. He is a danger for people who put themselves in his orbit. That is what he is. That is not a danger to you. That is not a danger to me. It is a danger to you and me if we decide to go to start hanging out with people who hang out with Puffy, and now we're going to get into some of the he's not a rapist, okay? This isn't like Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker when they caught him. He wasn't getting out because that dude was a danger to the community. That's not Puff Daddy. That's not P. Diddy. He's not a danger. The people who live next door to Diddy don't have to be like, we've got a madman living next door. He's going to come. So it's just this constant disingenuous bullshit that we're just forced to swallow. I'm glad he's been remanded to custody because, again, I think he's gonna skip town. He's gonna skip town, and we're never gonna get justice. But don't remand him to custody and try and make me think that he's like some serial rapist who's waiting on a street corner to take your kid. Right? I have to drive my daughter to school today because Diddy is out on bail. I'm concerned that Diddy is, it's so stupid. They lie to us about this kind of shit all the time. It's just bullshit. It's nonsense. He's a flight risk. That's the whole thing. So what else do we have here? What is the latest? Oh, look at this. Oh, this is interesting. I have no idea the credibility of this, but I don't care because I think Diddy's an asshole. So we're just going to talk about it. We're going to do it anyway. Here is some audio that somebody who used to be in Diddy's orbit, somebody who used to work for Diddy, apparently he's like a security guard or something. Well, they're all turning on him now. This is audio of P. Diddy having sex with Meek Mill. You want to hear it? Who wants to hear audio? That's the other big takeaway from this whole thing. Diddy ain't just gay. He's like super gay. Like, and I think this is a thing in hip hop with gay guys, like gay guys who are in hip hop. I think that like the way that they're allowed to sort of excuse their homosexual desires. I think in the hip hop world, the way you're allowed to do that is to be a gangster, to be like, well, it's like prison, man. It ain't gay if you're in prison. You know, that whole thing. And I've always been like, no, it's still gay. It's still gay if you're in prison. I know you're making excuses. I mean, I see what you're doing. I'm just not buying that. No, I would have to be in jail. I don't need sex. Okay, there you go. I don't need sex. So this idea that I'm going to jail for 5 years, I'm going to have to start having sex with men. I'm like, no, you don't. You can't go 5 years. Jesus, man. Most kids go like 12 to 17 without any sex, and they really want it. That's when their hormones are going nuts. So most kids can do that 5 years of hard time with no problem. You're telling me you're going to turn punk in jail? No, you're already there. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you being a man who likes to have sex with other men. Being gay is totally fine. It's 2024. But somehow still in the hip hop world, you know, it's like, you can't be gay or whatever. So, but if you're in prison, yeah, I did, dudes. So this seems to be like what Diddy kind of played on. Like, I think Diddy's a gay man. And I think he's a gay man and he tried to cover it up by being hard. This is like prison sex. You know, like that. I think that's just all a cover up. But he's gay. Diddy is gay. I think because Diddy lived a life where he could have had, like, all things being equal, a dude in prison doesn't have any selection. Okay, a dude in prison has got the dude sleeping next to him, and that's it. Diddy had everybody. Diddy could have chose anything. Diddy could have chose the most beautiful women on the planet. Diddy could have walked into any club in any town in America and walked out with 5 of the hottest chicks in that club. He could have done that every single night. He could have had sex with all of them. That's just what comes with the job of being Diddy. But no, he was choosing dudes. And here's some video or an audio. This is P. Diddy's old bodyguard. He recorded one of these sex parties, and now that everybody's talking about him, he's putting out some tape. So apparently this is a recording of P. Diddy having anal intercourse with Meek Mill. I don't know who Meek Mill is. I know that he's another famous guy. I know he's a hip-hop guy. I don't know him. Couldn't tell you a song. But here you go. P. Diddy supposedly having sex with Meek Mill. Here we go.
Oh, fuck that shit, man. Fuck that
all the champagne was spiked, son. Like, all the champagne was...
All right, now this is the bodyguard, okay? So we're going to listen to that one more time. This is P. Diddy supposedly having sex with Meek Mill. And now this is the bodyguard of P. Diddy who recorded it. And now he's explaining exactly what was going on.
Fuck that shit, man. Fuck that
all the champagne was spiked, son. Like, all the champagne was spiked. Everybody was passed the fuck out. I don't drink, so I was playing that shit off like I don't fucking drink. I smoke, nigga. Like I smoke and I had my own weed, but like everybody was passed out. Yo, Diddy had that man in the room. Look, yes, I put my ear to the fucking door and I brought the phone because Diddy started going in overdrive. I ain't know what the fuck was going on, but I just heard balls slapping against ass cheeks. I heard niggas struggling to take dick. I heard niggas being like, yeah, daddy. Like when he started all that daddy this and daddy that, and then I heard some hollering and struggling. Like, yeah, I kept the phone there and I recorded all that shit because I was like, this nigga Diddy rich. So I'm finna put the squeeze on and give me a couple dollars and just ain't, you know what I'm saying? There's nobody believed that was really Diddy beating Meek back in. But now y'all motherfuckers believe the video, right? Right? Somebody throw me a couple dollars.
I love that guy. I love it. He's completely above board on everything. Yeah, man, I told y'all a while ago about how he was banging and none of you believe me, but you believe me now. And so now here you go. I'm going to play it for you again. Should we listen again? Let's listen again to P. Diddy having sex with Meek Mill, allegedly. That's what we're being led to believe here by this man who is his old bodyguard. And again, this is how you got to process this stuff. This guy says he's his old bodyguard. I don't know if that's true or not. If you want to believe this whole thing is true, if you want to believe that this is Puff Daddy having sex with Meek Mill, then you will be like, it absolutely is his bodyguard. This absolutely is a recording, and that absolutely is P. Diddy and Meek Mill, even though we have nothing. We can't tell that's P. Diddy behind. Anyway, it is funny. So here we go. Let's listen one more.
Fuck that shit, nigga. Fuck that ass, nigga.
All the champagne was spiked, son.
All right, like, that's all we need. I love this. I love this takedown of P. Diddy, Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Daddy Diddy, Sean Combs. I have despised this man for a good 30 years. 30 years? Late 90s. It started in the late 90s when he was just a little bit too much. I'm like, really? Wait, what are you exactly? You're not a superstar. You ain't like Biggie. Yeah, that ain't who you are. You ain't Tupac, that's for sure. And you're not good like Jay-Z. You certainly aren't. Point was this. I didn't know what he was or why he was as big as he was. He's a producer and a record label owner and all that stuff. And he had a great talent for inserting himself in whatever the zeitgeist created by his more talented people that were underneath him. And somehow he became like the quintessential hip hop impresario. And I just always thought he was a dick. It's like you're telling me his whole vibe, his whole act is that I'm an asshole, but everybody puts up with it. That's his bit. That has always been his bit. Sunglasses inside like a fucking D-bag, talking like I'm a D-bag, expecting everybody to bow down to him. That guy's always been a fucking dick. And so many of us just went, that's just how they are. He's so cool. No, he's not. You know who's cool? Snoop. Snoop is cool. Snoop's got like a cool vibe about. Puff Daddy has always been a D-bag. Sean Combs has always been a fucking pretentious prick. And now we learn he's on the down low and he's giving it to Meek Mill in that audio. That audio is insane. That audio, I gotta be honest with you, that audio does not sound as painful as I imagine gay sex to be. I'm a straight man, and I have very limited experience in that area. You know, we all have that area. We use it every day. I'm very healthy in that area every day, like regular. Never put anything in it. Like I don't know that that's not something I want to try, but I've always wondered, you know, my gay friends, when you're doing that stuff, what's that like? And here we are now. I'm hearing it, and it doesn't sound as painful as I thought. I thought there'd be a lot more screaming. I thought there'd be a lot more no stop. Oh, but here's the other thing. Maybe they're good gays. And by good gays, what I mean is they've done it a lot. Maybe Meek Mill has taken a lot. Maybe P. Diddy is small. I don't know. My point is this. I think when I look at how painful that act would be. I think I look at it from the perspective of a straight man with zero elasticity down there to this point. To this point in my life, there's been very little elasticity in my anus. Very little. Sometimes, maybe after a big meal, it's like, whoa, that one hurt. But that's about it. But if you have the elasticity, if you are a happily and sexually active gay man, maybe the whole body just, works out a little different. The body's like, all right, we're good. Like I have heard, I don't even want to say this. I have heard, I have heard that once you reach a certain point in that process, that all of a sudden it just like opens up. Like it's just like there's like you go from no room to like nothing but room. I don't know. It's no, this is not a good conversation for us to be having. I don't even know why we're having it. I'm a disgusting man. Can't have that kind of conversation on the radio. Nope. A heterosexual middle-aged man can't openly think about what gay sex must be like for a virgin anus. That you can't do that on terrestrial radio. Probably for good reason, I would imagine. We're just doing improv here. I'm just chasing rabbits. We're seeing where it went. I don't feel good about that last segment, so let's move on. All right, how about this? Let's do a little talk about the GOP. What is the GOP doing? What the fuck are you doing, GOP? I don't even know what the GOP is anymore. Is there a GOP anymore, or is it all just MAGA? Because they aren't two separate things. They seem to be working in lockstep. So the GOP yesterday blocked some really no-brainer, according to what everybody who's running for political office right now says. Everybody who needs you to vote for them, whether they're on the right or on the left, every single one of them is saying, there's nothing wrong with IVF. IVF is fine. Donald Trump got up at the debate last week and talked about how I've always supported IVF. I got no problem with IVF. IVF, in vitro fertilization. Who the fuck could have a problem with that? People who can't have children being given an opportunity to have their own kids. Who the fuck could have a problem with this? Well, there are some idiots out there who have a problem with it. And I don't know why, and they're trying to be quiet about it, but, for the record, every high-level Republican seeking major office in this country and every Democrat of the same, they are all for IVF. They're all fine with it. It's different than abortion, okay? It's a different issue, Trump openly came out last week at the debate and said he supports IVF, he supports this, he supports that, he supports the other thing. And what does the GOP do yesterday? They block an IVF bill that it had widespread Republican support because nobody has a problem with IVF. But because some stupid people somehow conflate IVF with the abortion issue, they need to seem, we don't support anything that stupid people think about incorrectly. You're pandering to stupid people, GOP. So the GOP basically shot down this IVF bill. Even though most Republicans are like, no, we're fine with it. But it was Tammy Duckworth, and she's a Democrat. If she gets it passed, we're in an election year. It'll all be about, and the Democrats got your IVF. So that's why they voted against it. They voted against it because they didn't want it to be something that the Democrats could say, we supported your right to IVF, and we codified it with law. They don't want to be able to do that. Even though they all support it, they're just like, nope, this was a Tammy Duckworth bill. She's a Democrat. Even though it was co-sponsored by a Republican. They're like, fuck that guy. So stupid. It's like the border issue that we had. We had the border bill, and all the Republicans are on board, and it was getting ready to pass, and then Trump said, don't pass it, and suddenly they all bailed. There was an opportunity to do something actually significant with the crazy border operation, and we didn't because it's an election year, and we can't have them we certainly can't have Biden fix the border in an election year. We can't have that. So let's just remain with the fucked up border. Let's not do anything. So I guess this is how our government works this way now, because we're so partisan. We can't do anything legislatively in an election year. Is that what it is? Nothing will ever happen legislatively for an entire year when somebody is running for president because one side will not give the other side a victory that they can run on legislatively. We are fucked, man. This is what divisiveness have done for this country. There's the whole idea about codifying a person's right, a family's right, no matter what state you live in, that you have a right to seek scientific resolutions to your issues with becoming pregnant. That needs to be made a right of all American people. But no, they don't want to do it because people in Indiana might think that's the devil's work. Fuck you. Fuck you. Everyone agrees. You people, even the people who voted against it, agree that, yeah, this should be a thing. You should be allowed to say, because here's what you got. You got dumb fucks in places like North Dakota who are coming together in their state legislature and going, IVF is the work of the devil and the Jesus doesn't love the devil's work. And they're doing shit like that. And so that somebody, a couple who live in North Dakota, they might want to have a baby in 5 years and they go down to the hospital and they say, what are our options? And the hospital goes, well, in this state, not many. Because you see, science is considered the devil's work by a group of legislators there in the state house, and you're fucked. You will never have children because of it. Small-minded sons of bitches. And at the federal level, we've got an entire party of Republicans who are going, yeah, even though we support it, we're not going to vote for it because we can't allow them to have a win. Anyway, I expect this to come back around after the first of the year, after the election, and it will be codified, and you will have coast-to-coast legislation that says that no matter where you live in the United States, if you're a woman and a husband and you want to have a baby, you can go and seek scientific resolutions. Because we don't live in the fucking Middle Ages. All right, let's move on. Tupperware is going out of business. Oh, now that one hurts right here. Tupperware is pretty badass. Do you cook a lot? I cook a lot. I cook a lot of stuff, and sometimes I cook too much stuff, and you need to store it properly. And hell, sometimes you may even want to store something in the freezer. You're like, let's just throw that Tupperware in the freezer. Tupperware is becoming harder and harder to find. When I find a good piece of Tupperware, it's like, ooh, we can use the Tupperware for this. Tupperware's badass. Tupperware seems very American. It seems like an American product. The plastic is sturdy. You can put fucking Tupperware in the microwave and not have to worry about it melting into a puddle the way that Glad bullshit does. Yeah, you don't get Tupperware much anymore. I don't see it. Me personally, I got like 2 Tupperware bowls that I use and guard with my life, and then everything else are those stupid, cheap, Glad little canisters. You can't microwave those. Those things are cheap and they suck. Anyway, Tupperware's going out of business. They filed for bankruptcy because nobody wants quality food storage ware these days. Iconic Tupperware brands seek Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Tupperware Brands, the company that revolutionized food storage decades ago, has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The Orlando, Florida-based Tupperware, that seems real appropriate. Like if you were to say, like, where is Tupperware based? I wouldn't have guessed properly. I wouldn't have guessed right. But if you said Orlando, I'd go, yeah, that seems right. Is it Tupperware parties and Tupperware? It seems like that would be where the corporate. You know why? You know why I feel that way? Because isn't Mary Kay Cosmetics based here in Dallas? For some, that feels right to me. That feels right. Like, big giant Dallas women going, oh, darling, let me show you this shade of mascara. It just seems very right. Seems like it works. Orlando, Florida-based Tupperware plans to continue operating during its bankruptcy. Can't keep a good American company down. Company is seeking protection amid growing struggles to revitalize its business. Here's the thing. Sell it in stores. That's the problem with Tupperware, right? You got to have parties, which was great. Parties. The idea of having a Tupperware party in the 1950s or 60s, whenever it first started, that was brilliant. That was incredibly innovative marketing strategies there. Here's what you're doing here's what the Tupperware, and I'm just freeballing here, but here's what the Tupperware system of throwing Tupperware parties, what it did for America. Okay, first and foremost, You had an army of women who felt like they had nothing to do with their lives. You had an army, this is 50s and 60s housewives where they were, not really allowed to work. Some did, but you know what I'm saying? What Tupperware offered these women was an opportunity to run their own small business out of their own house while doing the thing that women of that era loved, which is to entertain. So they'd have these parties where women would drink and all this stuff. And then at some point in the party, they'd roll out all of this goddamn Tupperware and they'd be like, who likes these? And because there were drinks involved, women would buy shit that they wouldn't normally buy. It was brilliant. And every house in America for about 30 years had a cabinet somewhere in the kitchen that was filled with Tupperware. It was incredible. Some of the best things I've ever eaten in my life, I've eaten out of Tupperware. Now they're being run out of business by Glad or whatever. The company Tupperware, let's see here. The company Tupperware, who cares? We don't need to spend that much time on Tupperware. They're going out of business because nobody's buying Tupperware. Put them in stores. Just put them in stores. Why can't I go to Target and get Tupperware? Rubbermaid. Fuck you, Rubbermaid. You can already do that with a Rubbermaid. Rubbermaid is communist Tupperware. I don't even know if that's true. I don't even know if there's any reason for me to have an issue with Rubbermaid, but it's not Tupperware, so that's my issue. All right, what else do we got here? Let's see. What other stories? Ooh, got a lot. Got a lot to get through. Tupperware. Okay, here you go. This is a sad one. This is one of them dudes. I tell you from time to time, when we come across during the birthday segment or the deads, I tell you when we see a dude, I'm like, this is a dude. This is a dude who is not nearly as famous as maybe he should be, but for whatever reason. So we lost one of them dudes. We lost one of them dudes who was a quintessential Texan. He is like through and through proud of being a Texan. Took all that he loved about Texas culture and brought it out to the West Coast and sort of intermingled it with a scene that was already happening out there and influenced some of the biggest bands, wrote some of the biggest songs, was the secret weapon there behind the curtain for many of the biggest singer-songwriters of the era. Last night at the age of, how old was he? 89? Is he 89 years old? Let me see. Oh, no, not even. 78. Way too young. J.D. Souther died yesterday. Iconic American songwriter, iconic American performer. He was a songwriter. J.D. Souther's whole thing was that he wrote them words. Who is he most famous for? Well, he's not in the Eagles, but he basically should be. He didn't join the Eagles. He was in a band. He and Glenn Frey formed a band called something Penny Whistle. I don't know what it was. It was J.D. Frey or J.D. Southern and Glenn Frey. And they got a record deal and it didn't really go anywhere. And J.D. and Glenn Frey, to make ends meet, decided to take a job with J.D.'s girlfriend. J.D.'s girlfriend was someone named Linda Ronstadt. So Glenn Frey and J.D. Souther, they ended up playing in Linda Ronstadt's band. J.D. was Linda's boyfriend, so J.D. brought Glenn with him. So now Linda Ronstadt's band is J.D. Souther and Glenn Frey. And then they had a drummer named Don Henley who was also in her band. And then there was Bernie. There was a guy named it's the Eagles. I'm telling you about the Eagles, okay? And then at some point, Linda Ronstadt's backup band, they kind of went, we're pretty good. We should, hey, Linda, would you mind if, we went out on tour without you and if we recorded stuff without you? And Linda Ronstadt was, super cool. And she's like, no, not at all. And I believe that's where she told them to fly like an eagle. She'd go fly away, little bird or something. That's one of the reasons, one of the mythology around the name. That Linda Ronstadt, when she told those guys that they could go, she basically told them to go fly like an eagle or soar like an eagle or something like that. Anyway, J.D. Souther didn't go. He didn't go with them. He should have gone with him, but he didn't. You know why he didn't? Because he was still sleeping with Linda Ronstadt, and he was like, I can't leave my girlfriend's band. I got to help her form a new band now. So he stayed there. He would go on. He wrote a whole bunch of Eagles songs. What songs do we know from him? J.D. Souther, a prolific songwriter and musician who helped shape country rock sound. That's what he did. He was the guy at the Eagles, the cowboy thing, the desert outlaw whole vibe. Country rock, Southern California country rock. It almost exclusively exists because of guys like J.D. Souther, Chris Hillman. Who else? But anyway, my point is this. He was incredibly influential in the culture of America. Things we take for granted. It's because J.D. Souther liked that. J.D. Souther liked that, and then he wrote that song for the Eagles, and now everybody wears cowboy hats. Doesn't matter where you live, but Los Angeles, John David Souther, J.D. Souther, a prolific singer-songwriter and musician who helped shape the rock sound that took root in Southern California in the 1970s. Known to collaborate with many of the era's biggest musicians and stars, the Eagles, Linda Ronstadt, blah, blah, blah. He has died at 78 years old. Souther, who collaborated on some of the biggest Eagles hits. All right, so here are the songs that he wrote the lyrics to, okay? He was a lyricist. He was a word dude. All right, so Best of My Love by the Eagles. James Dean by the Eagles. New Kid in Town by the Eagles. Heartache Tonight by the Eagles. Heartache Tonight was actually his song. It was his song on his solo album. And then he went, you guys want it? And they were like, okay. He died Tuesday night in New Mexico. He also worked with James Taylor, writing a number of hits for James. Bob Seger, Bonnie Raitt, and many others. Also found success as a solo artist. He was about to start a tour with Carla Bonoff on September 24th in Phoenix. That tour is now canceled. When he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2013, Souther was described as a principal architect of the Southern California sound and a major influence on generations of songwriters. He was also at the heart of the social scene. His girlfriends including, he was also a big, he did them all. Like the chick singer-songwriters of that era, they all found their way into J.D. Souther's bed. Most notably Linda Ronstadt, Joni Mitchell, and Stevie Nicks, who in a 1982 interview remembered J.D. Souther as very, very, very male, very Texas, very sweet, cute, and wonderful, but again, very Texas. That's how Stevie Nicks described the great J.D. Souther. He died last night. He's terrific. There's any number of great documentaries about that era in rock music where he's all over it, where they're either talking about him or he's there talking about, he almost has a Forrest Gump type, except Forrest Gump wasn't necessarily integral to the moments that he experienced and was present for. J.D. Souther was. He was pretty important. Those people all saw him as a genius, even though they were the big rock stars and all that kind of stuff. All right, there you have it. J.D. Souther died last night, 78 years old. Great Texan, great singer-songwriter, great musician, great influencer of American popular culture. What else do we have here? This was an interesting story that I saw. I wanted to spend some time on it, although we don't have all that much time to spend on it now. But there is a study that says that, do you have a dog? Do you ever just stare into your dog's eyes? Do you ever just put your nose on their nose and just stare into the dog's eyes? And I don't know if you do it. I do it all the time. I find that it's very, I don't know why I always do it. I do it because, I don't know, it's looking into their soul, or I don't know, just bonding. And especially when my dog is being bad. Like if she's being aggressive, I will grab her by the nose and I will put my nose on her nose and I will look in her eyes and I'll be like, calm down, right? It's how I feel connected to her. That's a real thing. I know a lot of people say, don't do that. Don't ever look a dog in the eye. No, you can look your dog in the eye. You shouldn't look a strange dog in the eye, because a dog might see that who doesn't know you, might see that as a challenge. You can look your dog in the eye, okay? So there's this great new study, and it says that that is a major part of bonding with your dog, and your dog takes all kinds of pleasure and joy when you lock into them with your eyes. And they know this because they hooked up these people and all of these dogs, and they're doing this study, and they got all these EEG things on the dog that is measuring their brains and the different centers of their brains and their pleasures and all of that. And they found that when you look into the eyes of your dog, human and canine brain, no matter where it was before you locked in, they come to the same place in their individual brains. It's like we are connecting on a psychic level with dogs when we do this. It's not just a feeling. It is legitimately, they are locking into you and your brains begin to mimic each other. Wherever your brain is at, the dog's brain will settle in the exact same spot. I'll explain it to you because it seems, we're stupid people. None of us are brain scientists. There's not even such a thing as a brain scientist. Let's see. This comes out of Beijing. Chinese, they're doing this research. In an eye-opening pet discovery, researchers have found that when humans and dogs interact, it literally changes the way a pet's brain works. It turns out that when you stare into your dog's adorable puppy eyes, it's doing a lot more than just tugging at your heartstrings. It's syncing up the dog's brain with yours. Now, it's funny because I don't know this research, but I always did that to calm CeeLo, specifically my dog now, calm CeeLo down, not thinking that we're syncing up but to calm her, to get into the same kind of mindset that I'm in. And now, look, I got research saying that, no, that's exactly what you're doing. We're going to use different words to explain what it is. But yeah, you are calming that dog. That dog is dialing into your mood, your vibe. This is all interesting. To me, anyway. I don't care. Turns out that when you stare into your dog's adorable eyes, it's doing a lot more than just tugging at your heartstrings. It's syncing up the dog's brain with yours. This interbrain coupling, as scientists call it, sheds new light on the deep bond between humans and their canine companions. It may even hold clues for understanding and treating autism in humans. I don't know where they got that from, but okay, whatever. The study published in the Journal of Advanced Science. We don't need to go any further. Anyway, just look at your dog. Look at your dog in the eye. It's good for them. It's good for them. It lets them know. I don't know what it lets them know. I stopped reading. I got bored. But isn't that cool? Okay, so look at your dog in the eye. That's what we'll take away from it. Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, who we all saw suffer an incredible fourth now. Or is it technically third, but everybody's like, it's fourth officially, but probably 10 unofficially. He suffered another troubling concussion. Troubling because of the way his body reacted to the concussion in the moments that immediately followed the hit, which incidentally wasn't even that scary of a hit. It is official. Tua is on IR. He was in concussion protocol, which would have meant that he could not play. I believe, is it 1 week with a reevaluation, 48 hours before the second week, but mostly you look at 2 weeks. I don't know. I'm not sure. He was in concussion protocol, but now he has been placed on IR, injured reserve, which means that he's done now for 5 weeks. Damn it, Pugs. Just click on it. Just click on it instead of sounding like an idiot who doesn't know. 4 weeks, I think it is. Dolphins placed Tua Tagovailoa on injured reserve after latest concussion. Miami Dolphins placed Tua Tagovailoa on injured reserve Tuesday after the quarterback was diagnosed with his third. It's not third. It's not his third concussion. It's the third one that, like, Monday Night Football cameras captured. It's not his third concussion. He'll be sidelined for at least 4 games. He will be eligible to return in Week 8 when the Dolphins host Arizona. So the question here becomes, will he return? And is this all just, he's now got 4 weeks to make up his decision. He doesn't have to rush anything. He doesn't have to say, I will be back and I will play again. Or, here's what I think. Remember, I'm saying this on the 18th. I'm saying this on the 18th of September the day it's announced that he's been moved to the IR. 4 weeks. They're like, don't talk to us about Tua for 4 weeks. He's on the IR. He can't play anyway. So he's being taken off the front page. It is the 18th. Going to return in 4 weeks. 2 weeks from now. Not next week. No, yeah, not next week. But let's say 2 weeks from today. Oh, boy, that's a way specific. That's way too specific. Well, it doesn't matter. 2 weeks from today. There will be a press conference in Miami, and Tua Tagovailoa will announce that he is retiring from football. Mark my words. I think that them putting him on IR without, just regular concussion protocol where he would have been able to return, I think, next week or the next week after that. No, instead of that, they're buying him more time to make a very important decision. So they put him on IR, still get paid, still a part of the team, all that kind of stuff. He gets to think this out. He will not be making his return against Arizona. I just don't see it. He strikes me as too bright a kid to risk this kind of thing. His body obviously doesn't process concussions well, or it processes them in a way that is very disturbing, especially when they happen publicly. I keep saying about Tua Tagovailoa, I have seen people take big hits in football for many, many years. I have never seen a complete neurosystem breakdown where it's like that. It's like sticking your finger in a wall socket. I have never seen that other than a couple of other times in the NFL. I saw it last Thursday. And incidentally, the couple of other times in the NFL that I've seen it were also Tua. It was him. It's always been him. I've never seen that from another player. Now, I'm not saying that it hasn't happened. I'm just saying that. So for me, when I look at him, I go, dude, I don't think your body is built for this. And you're a tremendous talent, and you've got an incredible story to tell, and you're young. And most importantly, dude, you got your bag. You have generational wealth right now. You do not need to be slurring your speech at 31 years old, because I honestly think that that's where we're heading. I think that it's obvious that he has sustained too much. All right, anyway, there you go. So that's the big news on Tua. He has been moved to the IR. I believe 2 weeks from today. I'm going hard on this one. I felt very good about some predictions recently. 2 weeks from today, I believe there will be a press conference called in Miami where Tua Tagovailoa will be there in a suit. He will have his wife. He will have his family around him. And he will announce that he is retiring from the NFL. I think that's it. We're going to be done, guys. You good? I think we're good. Huh? We're good. This was a good show. Of course it was. It was produced by the incredible Tiffany Allen. Thank you, Tiffany, producing this. If you want to be tomorrow's executive producer, all you got to do is be today's biggest tipper. So drop a little something if you can. It'd be greatly appreciated. By the way, it needs to be split. There are certain people who never get to be executive producer. So the next time that we don't have an executive producer, I'm going to start making these people executive producer, because it's not that they don't tip. It's that they tip consistently in very small amounts. And unfortunately, those small amounts typically get beaten out by someone who tips once a month with it. So we will honor some of the everyday tippers, the people who tip $2, $5, $10 every day, if they're going to a movie and enjoying this show. So thank you so much. I cannot marginalize those people. Those people are out there, and they are so important to the everyday running of this show. So thank you to you folks as well. Again, there you go. You put that there. Anything else? I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Is there anything else I need to get into? What up? I'm hungry. You know what I'm craving? I can't afford it. It's like a $20 sandwich. But I'm craving Jimmy John's. I don't know why I started. I think this might be a new thing that I have. I've been on a sub sandwich kick lately. Because I don't know, whenever I go to like a sandwich place, I usually get, like in Chicago, I get an Italian beef or a meatball or a combo or something like that. But it's always a hot sandwich. It's hot and it's. But I do occasionally enjoy a good classic American submarine sandwich. Big giant sandwich. The kind you get at Jersey Mike's, the kind you get at Jimmy John's, the kind you get at Subway, the kind you used to get at Quiznos. Can't believe they don't have Quiznos anymore. Quiznos used to be pretty good. The kind you get at Firehouse. And I'm here to tell you that the Jimmy John's Spicy East Coast Classic, oh my God, is that a good sandwich? That's what I'm craving. It's better than anything Subway got. Subway sucks. Oh, you know what's funny about Subway? I think I told you this. I don't know who this person was, but I think they were a grown-up. Oh no, they're not. It's my son. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I got to make fun of my son for being stupid. But it's now, it's okay. It's not stupid. If he was 50, he'd be stupid. But because he was 15, he's not stupid. He didn't know what a submarine sandwich was. Like he didn't. I said, let's go get sub sandwiches. He's like, what? I go, submarine sandwiches. Let's get a big one. We'll cut it in half, and that's what we'll eat. He goes, what the hell is a submarine sandwich? I go, what do you mean? What is a submarine sandwich? And he goes, you get it Subway? I go, yeah, dude. I go, why do you think they call it Subway? He goes, because the first one was next to a subway line? And I go, wait, is that why? I'm like, I always thought it was called Subway because they made submarine sandwiches. But now that he said that the subway, like a means of transportation subway, since he referenced that, now I notice every time you go into a Subway, they got Subway shit. And an entire generation doesn't know that sandwich that they sell was originally called a submarine sandwich. I don't know, World War II food. I guess that's a World War II food because it looked like a submarine. A submarine, a submarine. Think of what a submarine looked like back then. Adam's going to Chicago. All right, let's do this. All right, Adam, I got a little bit of time here left over. You want to go through your Chicago trip? Do you have any questions? I can answer them now here at the end of this show. It says, I'll eat some Italian beef for you tomorrow. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Here's what I would say to you about going to Chicago and getting Italian beef. I don't need to send you to any one particular place. Absolutely every place that has a corner, where they sell beefs and hot dogs, and they're all going to be good. They are all good. It is so hype. The Italian beef game in Chicago is so hyper competitive that you can't have a bad beef. If you have a bad beef, you won't last because there's just way too many good beefs everywhere. So that's good. Here's how you need to get it, though. You need to get yourself an Italian beef. You need to make it wet. That's how you order it. Say, give me a beef wet, sweet, and hot. Okay? There you go. That's how you order it. Adam, I wouldn't do you wrong. You want an Italian beef, sweet and hot, wet. Sweet and hot refers to the peppers. You want sweet peppers and you want the hot giardiniera. But don't say giardiniera. Just say sweet and hot. That's all you need to say. And then you don't want it baptized. Baptized is where they just dip it in the sauce. You in the beef juice. You don't want it baptized. You want it wet. Okay, you want it wet. Difference between baptized and wet. All right, I'm going to show you. This is baptized. All right, look, we're going to put it in here and we're going to pull it right out. There you go. It got wet. It got baptized. We got the sandwich. Boom, we're putting it in the juice and we pull it right back out because it's been baptized. You want it wet? You go like this. You take the sandwich and you put it in there. Count to 1, count to 2, count to 3. Boom, pull it out. Now it's wet. It's just a little bit better. Sweet and hot. Get sweet and hot. Most people are like, I don't know if I want the sweet green peppers or if I just want the hot giardiniera. Get them both. Get them both like a pro. You really want to up your game, you can add some cheese. You can say, give me some cheese too. Make it cheese. White mozzarella on there. That's also always a welcome addition to a good beef sandwich. Let's see here. Adam says, how humid is humid? And he says, because it says Friday and Monday will be muggy, but it's going to be like 70 degrees. Can I wear pants or do I need shorts? I do get cold more easily. I have never known Chicago to have a humidity problem. I know people have gone there from elsewhere and gone, it's so humid. How do you handle it? I'm like, what do you mean it's humid? Have you ever been to Florida? That's humid. This is not. So I wouldn't worry about it. If it says it's going to be 70 degrees, you could wear 70 degrees in Chicago this time of year is shorts and a sweatshirt. That is like the best outfit ever. I used to live in basketball shorts and like a hoodie, or just like a big sweatshirt. That's what it's going to be. Shorts and a sweatshirt. You can wear long pants if you must. It's 70 degrees. There's nothing wrong with that. Sounds like the weather's going to be great. Sounds like the weather is going to be really good. Let's see. I got nothing else. Where are you staying? I mean, you don't have to tell me the hotel because, people in the chat room. What part of town are you staying in, though? That is kind of important to direct you to cool places. I want Adam to go to Maria's. Okay, I want Adam to go to. And are you going alone? Are you going to be by yourself? Because I'd like to send you to Maria's. That's like the greatest bar in America. I'd like to send you to. I don't know. Adam says, I dress like a man, not a boy, so I won't be wearing basketball shorts. Well said, sir. Well said. Good answer. I accept that. It's very good. All right, you're staying in a Pilsen Airbnb. Dude, you got to go to Maria's Tap Room. You got to go to Maria's. I know you enjoy a good bar. I don't know if you've ever been to Maria's. Take an Uber. Get out right in front. Because, you're staying. I'm going to put it to you this way. You're staying in Pilsen. Pilsen is often referred to as historic Pilsen. Referring to a neighborhood as historic is a way to please developers while also not lying about the fact that there's some crime there. There's some crime there. If you live in historic Harlem, there's some crime there. Pilsen is a lot different than what Pilsen was 20 years ago. There's been gentrification and all that, so you should be fine. But yeah, I got to send you got to go to Maria's, Adam. I'd love to get your take on Maria's. Although you're going by yourself, so that's a little bit different. Maria's would be a great place to just go with a friend and be like, let's drink. I took my last friend. Whenever my friends come into Chicago, I always meet them for a drink, and we oftentimes will either meet for a drink at the Hancock Observatory, which we don't do anymore, or we go to Maria's, depending. I say, meet me at Maria's. Maria's is such a cool Chicago bar because it's a hidden bar. It is it's a liquor store in a neighborhood right there on the south side, Bridgeport area. Actually, I think it's closer to Chinatown, but it's in the neighborhood of Shameless, if you've ever seen Shameless. So you go to Maria's and you walk into a liquor store. It's just a liquor store, and there's a little Chinese woman. Can I help you always, Humpty? A little Chinese woman. You walk into the liquor store and you say, no, I'm just going to go to the bar. And then she's like, okay. And she pulls back a drapery and there's a door and you go through this door and you go down and it's an incredibly cool bar. So you got to go there. Actually, I'm wondering if there's any sort of is there a Maria's Tap Room video? So I can show you guys what I'm talking about. It's my favorite bar in Chicago. There it is. There it is. Look at it. Maria's Packaged Liquor and Community Bar. Let's see what this is. We'll watch this one. Hold on. Let's check this out. We're doing a special show here now for Adam and his trip to Chicago. Yeah, there it is. There's Bridgeport. That's Shameless. That's White Sox. That's South Side. All right, this is for you, Adam. This is a pretty cool bar.
I've been drinking my Hills Brothers all day to stay energized so that I can buy and try some drinks in this Southside bar. Hey, how are you?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Thanks for the stand.
All right, this dude's in the bar. She went straight to the bar. She didn't even go through the liquor store. She didn't even go to the front.
Standing ovation there.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
very
my pleasure.
gentlemanly. Maria's is a cool place. This is a fact. This is what I know. Maria's Packaged Goods and Community Bar is a great place to grab a drink or even buy some beer. And you're Maria's son.
I am.
I'm
one of Maria's son. And Maria has owned this place for decades now. And it was slashy, meaning half liquor store, half tavern.
All right, see, did you see that? That's how you walk in. It's just
grab a drink or even buy some beer. And you're Maria's son.
I am.
I'm
one of Maria's son. And Maria has owned this place for decades now. And it was slashy, meaning half.
All right, so there's the liquor store. You walk into a liquor store and it turns out to be this gorgeous bar in the back. Slashies. I think I learned that was a Chicago thing. It's just something that I've always grown up with that they don't have anywhere else. It's a liquor store that is also a bar. So if you're in the bar and it's closing time and you need to take something home with you, you go to the liquor store and you bring your stuff on. Or we also have, pizza restaurants that are like this. There'll be a pizza restaurant where you go up to a window and you order your pizza and then you wait. But you can wait in the bar because the bar is also a slashy.
Liquor store, half tavern.
This place is great. It has history, strong Chicago history of a mother to her sons. I know your secret to success is two brothers that like to have a good time.
We thought it would be great if we could provide a 21st century opportunity for the residents of Bridgeport to drink craft beer, craft cocktails, a wide range of spirits, and everything else that's available in the north side.
Now, there's a new part of the bar that I'd love to go see.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like an add-on that you've done recently.
Yeah, that's right. About a year or so ago, Maria opened up an addition, which is almost like complement to the old school kind of tavern thing, with this kind of new school warped beer.
All right, we don't need any more of that. That's my recommendation to Adam, especially since it turns out you're going to be in Pilsen area. That's right there. Maria's a very cool place. But honestly, Adam, I'm not an alarmist, and I'm from the south side of Chicago, so trust me when I tell you, don't be stupid, okay? Here's how you go to Maria's. Get in an Uber, have them drop you off right in front. Here's how you go home from Maria's. Call the Uber, wait for him to be out in front, and get in the Uber and let it take you home. You don't walk the neighborhood. Don't walk the neighborhood, as my buddy Adam from Texas. You look like you fit in the neighborhood. That's not going to be a problem. It's a Hispanic, Asian, and white neighborhood, so you'll be fine there. But if you don't know where you're going, don't walk down. I want to check out the houses on this, but just don't. You don't need to be mugged. I'm not saying you're going to get killed, but, you've seen Shameless. The people in those neighborhoods, they have no shame. So, and these are my people, and it's my neighborhood. So I'm just telling you. Don't walk the neighborhood. Adam says, it says I'm a 10-minute bike ride. I don't want you riding your bike, Adam, through Pilsen. I know you're a biker. And you're probably going to be fine. I don't want you riding your bike. I don't want you riding your bike. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want you riding your bike from Pilsen to Maria's. You know what? You do you. I wouldn't do it. There you go. I wouldn't do it. And I lived there. Not in this neighborhood. I never lived in this neighborhood, but I'm familiar with this neighborhood. Okay, so Maria's is good. I want him to go to Maria's. I hope you got the city pass. I think I advised you of that earlier. Get the city pass so that you can go to all the museums and all that. And you get I think you pick 4 of these 8 things. And, I think you probably picked the same 4 as me. What else? I don't know what else to tell you. Food-wise, man, if you want pizza, don't fuck around. Don't just be like, oh, a pizza. Here's a place saying it's Chicago pizza. Go to Pequod's. Again, this is all Uber. You say, hey, Uber, I want to go to Pequod's right there on the campus of DePaul University. Pequod's, get yourself, and don't go to Pequod's and get a salad. Why are you going to Pequod's? Go to Pequod's and get what they're known for, which is their version of Chicago stuffed pizza. It is the best that you will have anywhere. They do a special thing where they burn the crust so that it caramelizes with the cheese, and it is delicious. I know what you're thinking. You're like, burning the crust, that can't be good. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Especially when it's burnt with cheese and garlic. Yes, it actually can. So I want you to go to Maria's for drinks. I want you to go to Pequod's. You can do the downtown Portillo's. There's a Portillo's in downtown there. It's quite a spectacle. It's sort of like their big showcase Portillo's. It's pretty good. But again, you can get a beef sandwich anywhere. If you want to do the Bear, like if you love the Bear, like, oh, I want a beef sandwich, but I want a beef sandwich like the kind I would get at the first season of the Bear. That's Mr. Beef. You got to go to Mr. Beef. Mr. Beef, I think, is on Grand. But there's Mr. Beef downtown. That's the one. You'll see it. Like when you see it, you'll be like, oh, that's the bear. That's what they used for the exterior shots of the bear. So that's Mr. Beef. Trying to think if there's anything else. I'm trying to give Adam, he's going to Chicago tomorrow. I'm trying to give him some good tips. It's a good time of year. Actually, is it a good time of year? I love fall. I love fall in the Midwest. The colors. Oh, are you going to get the colors? Probably. Everything's going to be so pretty. The leaves are all turning. Anyway, have fun. There you go. That's my pro guide to Chicago in September. Maria's Pequods. Go to Water Tower Place. I'll tell you, want to know a really cool place to go and spend a day if you're in Chicago is Water Tower Place. And you got to eat at Food Life. I love Food Life. I tell everybody when they come to Chicago, you got to eat at Food Life. What is Food Life? Well, Water Tower Place is Chicago's downtown showcase mall. You know, it's like, this is the best shopping experience that we have. It's their big, fancy downtown Chicago shopping mall known as Water Tower Place. And in Water Tower Place, they have a food court the way no other mall has a food court. Their food court is a thing called Food Life. And it's all high-end food that you get to sample in a food court type setting. It's like, I want to try that prime rib. So here you go, $6 prime rib. It's only this big or whatever, but it's good. It's good. So I always tell people, I say, look, if you're going to go spending the day in Chicago and you want to have a really cool lunch experience, go to Food Life. Food Life has been around for like 20, 25 years. Now I see versions of it. Like we've got the Food Hall here in Dallas, which is kind of like a version of what Food Life is, but they didn't call it a food hall. They called it Food Life, and it's been around for 20 years, 30 years. That's good. I would suggest that. Anybody else? KB, Kevin Barber. I know that Mama Beller. I know you folks probably have some good recommendations as well. Mike D says that he went to a conference at the convention center. That's McCormick Place. Says he went to a restaurant not too far away. And as we were leaving, the waitress said, "Don't go out until your Uber shows up." I think your waitress was a bit of an actress. I think she was being a little bit. If you were down in the convention center area of McCormick Place, the lakefront, no, you're fine. That's different. Adam's in Pilsen. Adam is traveling via bike from Pilsen to Bridgeport. Those are two working class ethnic neighborhoods. They're a little different. I think your waitress was ginning you up for no reason. There's no danger for people at McCormick Place. There's no danger for people on the lakefront. There's no danger for people. Any of the tourist areas of Chicago, there's basically no danger. Once or twice a year, we get this big thing where all the kids come down to the lakefront and the police freak out because there's like, it's a Friday night in April where it's, the first one that's Friday in May, first night that's like 75 degrees, and then you get like 30,000 poor kids from the neighborhoods who come down, and that freaks the city out. And they're like, oh, there were 15 arrests because gang members were running. That only happens once or twice a year. I mean, look, they handle Lollapalooza with no major crime. It's the tourist sections of Chicago and the business sections of Chicago where people who are traveling for business, like the convention center area and all that shit is safe. That shit is real safe because murders and shit that happen in those neighborhoods hurt the bottom line of Chicago's economy, and they don't allow that. But again, riding your bike from Pilsen to Bridgeport when you're not from, I don't know, I just think that that's a little bit more risky. Adam says, I like to tell my wife, here's my beef when I take off my pants. There you go. That's how you do it. You're making my insistence of being on public transportation not as sound as I hoped. All right, so Adam says, my insistence on being on public transportation not as sound as I hoped. Yeah, I mean, okay, so if you're talking about I wouldn't take public transportation to Maria's And I wouldn't. Just an Uber, dude. Just why? Why I wouldn't? Why risk it? It's public transportation is safe in Chicago, and if you're taking it during the daylight hours, or if you're taking certain lines that frequent certain parts of the city, you're fine. But if you're taking a public transportation line that is going to get you into neighborhoods that maybe you don't normally want to be in, I would like taking the train from downtown Chicago to O'Hare Airport. Not a problem. That's great. But I told you from the beginning when we were talking about Riot Fest being moved out to Bridgeview, which is a suburb that is just on the outskirts of Chicago. I think Adam was saying, yeah, I'm going to take the train from downtown Chicago or from wherever where I'm staying out to Bridgeview. I said, that's fine going out there, but man, I wouldn't want to be on that train going through those neighborhoods at 11 o'clock at night. I wouldn't. Especially, although, maybe because they'll understand that this is a big concert event, there'll be extra security and they'll be making a point to make it safe on that night, maybe. But I don't know. Mike says, I had a choice between Chicago and Atlanta to move for a job in 99, and I ended up moving to Atlanta. Love Chicago. Ended up going there about 10 times a year for business. Yeah, that was a bad move. Chicago's way better than Atlanta. There's just so much more to do. Adam says, at night, sure, I'll take an Uber. I don't really plan on drinking except on Sunday in Wrigleyville. Wrigleyville's fun. You'll have a good time in Wrigleyville. Wrigleyville is not what Wrigleyville was when I was running around Wrigleyville. Wrigleyville has gone under a major transformation. It's been Disneyfied, big corporate stuff. Wrigleyville used to be about just bars, like one-off bars that line the street. It was fun. You could go there and, Jimmy's got a bar and Tommy's got a bar. Now all the bars are owned by I don't know, like if there's a Hard Rock Cafe, there's not, but it's all these like corporate places now, and it's very nice. It's very nice. So you can have fun in Wrigleyville still. It's different than what it used to be. It used to be kind of seedy. It used to be kind of fun. Get into a fight in Wrigleyville. Not anymore. It's very corporate and very clean, but nice, but really nice. If you just want a nice time, you're good there. And good. It says that at night, sure. Yeah, don't take any public. You can take public transportation all day long. It's great. Daylight hours, middle of the afternoon. Get on a train, hop on the subway. Jump on a bus. It's totally fine. I just think it all gets sketchy at night. I just think it night, unless you're taking a train that only goes through the bar districts. Like there's a line, I don't know what it is. Is that the red? I don't know what line it is. Whatever it is that goes up north, that's pretty safe. That's pretty safe because it just, all the stops are just drunk people from the bars, and there's cops because cops know that there's drunk people. And again, that's more of a touristy thing. So that's safe. I don't know. I don't love taking public transportation out into the hinter neighborhoods where shit can happen. Adam says it's back at Douglas Park, so I can walk to the festival. Yeah. Yeah, you can. You sure can. It ain't far. You sure can. You can walk. That's not a good neighborhood. I'm sorry. That is not a good neighborhood. I'm a middle-aged white man, though, so maybe I have a different view of it. You'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. You know what it is? It's a coming back neighborhood. That's what the Douglas Park neighborhood is. It's coming back. We keep our fingers crossed. That's the west side of Chicago. I mean, it's like, I don't know, people, the west side is like the real bad side. Like the south side gets a lot of credit and all that, but the west side is like, that's like the really bad part. Englewood, which is like the most deadly area of Chicago, is a neighborhood that, is on the south side. And so we always think of Inglewood as being like the worst part, but it's not. There are some west side neighborhoods really scary. Really scary. Adam says, I'm a mile from there, and there will be police and people about. Yeah, it will. You're absolutely right. Riot Fest at Douglas Park. You're absolutely right. It's a big premier Chicago City event. So I would imagine that every block that you walk, there will be another police officer in a police car. They're going to keep Riot. Riot Fest is a big moneymaker. It's a big tourist. It's like Lollapalooza. They have no crime at Lollapalooza other than people stealing phones. But there's not like gang violence or anything like that at Lollapalooza, no shootings, because the city's like, all right, we're going to take this shit seriously. And they take Riot Fest seriously too, so you'll be fine. All right, I hope you have a good time. That's going to do it. I got to end this show. I love you guys. Once again, today's executive producer was Tiffany L. Happy executive producer day to her. You can help out the show as well. Drop a little something in the Venmo or however you do it. Adam, you have a great trip. We'll see you back tomorrow. My voice is totally gone. Love you guys. Bye.